Oh, it's so hot. It's so fire. The Should I Play This Game? Game of the Year for 2024, part deuce. Yesterday, hang on. Before I go any further, Graham Banks.
How are you?
Fucking hell. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was going to go on this full thing. And yesterday we did this. And then I was like, oh, wait, there's more than one person here. What the hell? So, day 2, second half of Game of the Year, split it in half because, holy fuck, years past have told us that 4 or 5 hours of podcasting, takes a toll on a man's soul. Yep. Yesterday, we did Best Game We Didn't Get Time to Finish, won by Astro Bot. Best Noise, won again by Astro Bot. Indiana Jones in the top 3 for both of those. Best New Thing, Plucky Squire. Best Surprise, Indiana Jones. Best Looking Game, Plucky Squire. So today, first cab off the ranks will be Best Story / Writing. We've got Best Hand Feel, Best New Character / NPC, Best Campaign, and overall... Oh, we got our top 10s and then the overall top 10 for the Should I Play This Game podcast. One game that I haven't brought up at all is UFO 50. Because there's 50 fucking games and they're fucking hard. I think I've got like 4 or 5 hours in that right now. And I think 3 or 4 of those have been tied to 2 games. So I've only cracked open 4 of the 50. And then, no best music for this time around because, Graham, as you correctly pointed out, it's literally something you sit there and just quietly nod your head to. So I might cover that in a Friday Night Fun or something like that coming up.
Cool.
All right. How about we raise the curtain once again? Spoilers.
Yep.
Asterisk yourself here if you don't want to, particularly this first fucking category. It is entirely possible that you may get spoiled on some of these games and very possibly spoiled for each other.
Yes, indeed. So there will be...
me spoiling for you.
Yes, probably. So there will be chapter notes in the YouTube if you're watching on YouTube and on the podcast. So you should be able to skip forward if you want to. If you want to avoid particular categories, you can do that. But yes, let's jump into the first one. Best story or writing. So this covers the actual story, incidental dialogue, stuff you read on the screen. It's anything about the writing part of the game.
Yep.
We've got quite a few nominations, so we'll go with the first one is the Plucky Squire, Cat Quest 3, Caravan SandWitch, Lil Guardsman, Bears in Space, The Tales of Kenzera Zhao,
good.
Tactical Breach Wizards, Thank Goodness You're Here, Fear the Spotlight, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, SteamWorld Heist II, Helldivers 2, Nobody Wants to Die, Duck Detective The Secret Salami, and that wraps up our 14 nominees. So again, we are trying to go by top 3 with a winner. Everyone else jumps into the honorable mentions. So what are your first thoughts, Steve?
I think Plucky Squire stays for now.
I think it does, yes.
I think Cat Quest stays for now. I think we can take off Caravan SandWitch.
No, not for me. We'll come back.
Okay.
No.
I was going to say, I'm not particularly married to the... I think the story's okay. I think for what we've got, the story is not going to...
I probably won't make the top 3, but I don't want
That's what I mean. I'm not saying
first.
that the story is complete dog shit. To me, I think there are some fantastic moments in Lil Guardsman. Like, there's a full-blown fucking dating show to figure out who's going to go try and rescue a princess. And that's super well written. There's elements of, not even elements, like the dialogue between characters. It's almost entirely interaction based. So the dialogue that's written for those interactions, if it's not interesting or not amusing or not engaging, that game falls apart. The Papers, Please parts kind of works pretty well, but it's much more of an engagement interaction game than it is a Papers, Please. It's like 30-70 split almost. If those interactions aren't well written and aren't engaging, that game falls apart. But does it make a top 3? I don't know if I can justify that as yet.
Bears in Space?
Bears in Space is fucking spectacularly written, but the story is kind of
Okay.
The story's kind of boilerplate. It's literally all of the individual moments, interactions, things like that. When we had best moment, my nomination was initially just the whole game for Bears in Space. Because there's constant jokes and things like that and quips, one-liners, like even sort of monologual stories that come out sometimes. And just the individual way in which certain things are written, you go in like there, that's supremely well written, but story-wise, again, kind of boilerplate. What happened?
Wrong screen. My bad.
All right. Tales of Kenzera, Zhao. I think maybe one of the most hard. Oh fuck! Did I put Banishers on here?
I don't think so. I'm adding one myself. Actually, just thought of one.
Why the fuck did I not put Banishers on here? What am I doing? I literally just thought of that. That's man. I think from an affecting story point perspective, when the dude got up on stage and talked about the game when he was announcing it, you could see the emotion of how much it meant to him because it was dealing with the loss of his father. And I think that was a super concrete way of actually telling that story, and it comes across really quite well with the parable or the allegory of like the African sort of death spirit and mirroring that with the real life or the quote unquote game's real life version of how this dude's interpreting the story that his dad's written for him.
Okay. Yep.
So there's that like it plays pretty well, but it's the story that carries that thing. Tactical Breach Wizards is Bears in Space, but more intelligent. There's a real cleverness and a real, oftentimes humor to the writing in the interactions between the characters. We've already talked about Thank Goodness You're Here and how well British it is and how clever the humor in the writing is. I don't think Fear the Spotlight's going to make it. It's a pretty great PlayStation, like I said, PlayStation era or aesthetically PlayStation era, and it covers sort of same-sex attraction, relationships, stuff like that, but doesn't do it with a big fucking neon sign. It just treats it as very normal, and you get the paranormally stuff that you get from a Resident Evil and things like that, but it's not ham-fisted, it's not overbearing, it's done really quite well. I just think it's not going to make it. Indy's a pretty great fucking action movie.
Yeah. There's also lots of little. I think we sort of mentioned it in the first episode or the first pod that when you're like, there's a sequence fairly early on where you've got to dress as a priest.
Yeah.
And you're walking around Vatican City dressed as a priest. Anyone says, thank you, Father, and bless you, Father, and that sort of stuff, and he just little dialogue bits between them are just really,
and just the way Indiana Jones responds to those, he sticks to the character really well, and it is very much your blockbuster equivalent.
It probably may not make the top 3, but it is a heck of a it is a very good story. But so far I've written it a very good story, and the
having finished it, it does really well.
Yeah,
there are a couple things that get really fucking weird. It's like, wait, what? I think the overall story of SteamWorld Heist 2 is very good. I think the writing is even better. The overall story,
so far,
it's pretty solid.
Fairly solid, but it's fairly straightforward as well.
It's pretty straightforward. It's not nothing you haven't seen before. It's that the imposter syndrome, overcoming that.
Yep.
The fucking heel turn. Oh,
I haven't got that yet.
That's son of a. Oh, all right. Well, yeah. Helldivers. You may as well take that off, but god damn it, the Starship Troopers-ness of it all and just the quips when you're running around, it's fucking great.
Yep.
It's not going to make it, but because the baseline of the story is there's this galactic war, but it almost never has an end.
Yeah, okay.
Because the campaign is you're just rolling these missions to play with friends. There's no real end point that I can tell. So you can take that off. Nobody Wants to Die. I think if its story didn't hold up, it would not work.
Literally wouldn't work because that's what that game completely centers itself on. But Yeah, the
Oh, there's
writing,
the investigative parts, like that
the
30%
investigative stuff,
ish of
but
the investigative parts, but
the driver for you doing all that stuff is the dialogue between you and Sarah and the monologue stuff that he
how
does.
far have you gotten in that? I can't remember.
Basically, I haven't got any further than what we discussed yesterday, so I've got to the...
That's right, you're at, just after investigating inside the blimp.
Yeah, correct, yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Deductive Detective, Secret Salami, like, we've both played that to completion. It's just got great dialogue. It's probably not going to make a top 3,
No.
but it's just it's very well written. But I think that story.
The interactions are neat.
The interactions are neat between those characters in it, but it probably won't hold up overall.
The reveal is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm not too sure that sort of sticks to landing that game per se, but
no.
But yeah, I've just added Horizon Forbidden West. This game came out obviously a few years back on the PlayStation. It came out last year on the PC. That's where I played it. I've always thoroughly enjoyed the world that they've created in those 2 games, and I'm assuming there's going to be a third one at some point.
There has to be.
There kind of has to be to finish it all off. So I think that world they've created is just brilliant. I've actually started playing the Lego one as well recently. And it's interesting. I think we might do. It might be one of the first checkouts we do this year, because it is interesting to play that game. It's nowhere near like as you can imagine, it's not an open world game. Like this is, but it's interesting what they've done. It is quite intriguing. Not sure that'll make a top 3, but I just think it needs to be highlighted. That like the breadth of that game and all the side stuff. Some of the side stuff is sometimes some of the better stuff you do in that game in terms of the story stuff.
Ghost of Tsushima, same boat. I'm not nominating it. But very much again, very quality story. The side activities are all really well done. The interactions are great. But because of how far ago it came out, it's been done. I'm half tempted to put Astro on here.
I don't think you could.
I get where you're about to come from, that there's next to no story, and you're right. And I would have said the same thing up until I saw the last 5-10 minutes of it last night.
Yeah, well, unless that has a complete story.
No, dialogue boxes, that's why I said half tempted.
And writing to read on screen, then no, it doesn't count as a writing thing, as far as sorry.
Should Astro Bots talk?
So, we'll get rid of Horizon Forbidden West. We'll get rid of Secret's Duck Detective.
Yep. Not yet.
Not yet. Fear the Spotlight.
Fear the Spotlight. I don't. For as cool as that, they tell that story and they use the survival horror, for lack of a better term, tropes without it being completely overbearing or completely ham-fisted. They do a great job. I just can't see it making a top 3, unfortunately.
All right, so we'll get rid of.
And they do some really weird and cool things.
That's probably got to stay for now.
No.
Goodness, you here? No, get rid of it. Okay.
No, I think for as fantastic as the writing and the Britishisms of it are, I don't think it's going to make a top 3. I've got much bigger bets on horses in this race.
All right, Tactical Breach Wizards.
That is one of those horses I've got that have a bigger bet on it. Not yet. Not Tales of Kenzera yet. I think Bears in Space can go because for as clever as the interaction writing is, I think the overall story is not good enough. There's some really interesting branching story parts in Lil Guardsman that actually make the story really quite interesting as well. It doesn't play out the same way all the time. There are, you hear the PR thing of your choices matter. There are choices that absolutely matter in Lil Guardsman.
Okay. Keep it for now.
On a first pass, I'll say no.
Caravan SandWitch, yes, I think it's a fairly standard story, you could say. It has a relatively standard sort of ending. That's not surprising how it does it.
Yep.
Well, there are actually 2 endings in that game that you can do.
Yes, I went back and did both because it saves you right before.
Yep. What I think I like about that is just the world building writing is really good. I think that's where it shines. I don't think the actual story itself is, as I said, is not.
I think the twist towards the end is really clever.
The twist towards the end is somewhat clever. It's sort of. I actually thought we both finished it, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah. So there was a spoilers. We did it earlier. There's a character that appears in the game. I can't remember what they even called it. The sandwich character.
Yes.
That I always thought all the way along that game was going to be the sister they're looking for.
Oh, I never pegged that.
And that's what I thought it was. I thought they were going to reveal that as being the sister, but no, she ended up being not the sister. I won't say anything more than that.
Oh yeah, right. No, she's not.
No.
I thought she was.
No.
I forgot. It's been a while since I played it. Leave me alone.
So we'll remove it now. I don't think it's, as I said, the world building writing is where that game shines in that writing, but I don't think story is probably lets it down a little bit. Not because it's bad, just because it's not fairly rote.
I mean, we wouldn't have nominated them if we didn't think they were at least worth a mention.
Worth a mention. Cat Quest, I don't think that can be removed yet. It's got
I'll agree with yet.
I think the problem with Cat Quest is it plays on its wordplay, and that's its only thing it's really got. The story itself is relatively straightforward.
Oh yeah, the story's pretty boilerplate.
But the puns they throw in there just make that thing really, really, really good.
When you sent me that picture of Meowtalica, I almost threw my fucking phone, just going, God fucking damn it.
The Plucky Squire, I'm a little bit torn on this one, if I'm honest.
It replicates picture book storytelling really, really well.
Yeah, like it does the story stuff really well. The thing that happens in that game, you've also finished it, haven't you? Yeah.
Yep.
So the thing that happens in that game is you're playing as Jot, the title character in the top of the cover out there. You're joined by your two friends, Violet and Thrash, either side of him. And then halfway through that game, halfway through, sort of 2/3 of the way through that game.
I was going to say 2/3 ish, 3/4.
You change from being the good guy, quote unquote, to then controlling the bad guy, and the story narrator completely changes everything around how he talks. And that's probably where that game really does. Like, it's a neat little twist that it actually does that. Yeah. I thought when it got to that point, I thought, that's an interesting story. We didn't get to finish it. How they're going to bring it back, and they just completely flipped the whole thing on its head in terms of how the writing then described everything in reverse. So it's really neat writing from that perspective. I'm not sure it's going to hold up against everything.
I don't think. I don't know.
This list, it's really
when Moonbeard got it, I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
My jaw dropped a little bit. I didn't think Moonbeard was going to get it like he did.
Yeah. So I think we're now left with, after that initial cut, we're left with the Plucky Squire, Cat Quest 3, Lil Guardsman, Tales of Kenzera Zhao, Tactical Breach Wizards, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, SteamWorld Heist 2, Nobody Wants to Die, Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden. So we're left with 9. We've got to cut 6. Where do you... I guess probably the one you're maybe a bit on the fence with, Little Guardsman, maybe?
The one I'm more on the fence with is SteamWorld Heist 2.
See, I'm kind of with you on that one.
I think for what it is, it's well done. I think there are easily 3 games that are stronger story and writing than it.
I agree with you on that one too. I'm going to remove that one. I'm also in the same boat. Nobody Wants to Die. I think that's probably in a similar spot.
I think the dialogue writing is well done. The story, for the most part, is done well. I've already said plenty of times how badly I think the ball gets dropped.
Yeah, so that's
in the last 10-15%.
That's probably why I think I might leave it out, remove it for now. It probably won't come back, but it has a possibility. Because I'd be
interested to see your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm really interested
on
how that game finishes. To then we can talk about it in more full.
Because there is a reveal that, yeah.
Yep. So where do you sit with probably Tales of Kenzera Zhao.
For as I was going to say rad, but that's not for as fantastic as I think the actual individual story is. There are games I would go to bat for more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a really good story. I think it's well worth experiencing. I think all the fuckwits on the internet who shit on bullshit about this game can go fuck themselves. Which, I don't know, you could extrapolate that out to everything about fuckwits on the internet.
Mm.
I think if it was just me, I don't know if it would make top 3. I might have even 3 games I would put ahead of it.
Mm.
But it'd be right on the cusp for me.
Yep.
I think we can take it out for now.
All right.
Worst case scenario, we can bring it back.
Mm-hmm. So we're left with Plucky Squire, Cat Quest 3, Lil Guardsman, Tactical Breach Wizards, Indiana Jones, Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden.
I don't think, for as rad as I think Lil Guardsman is, and for as well written as I think that is, and how, to an extent, integral the story and the writing is, I don't think it's going to make a top 3 based on what we've got. Based on our tastes, based on what I'm really batting for, I don't think it's going to make it.
All right.
It falls into the Tales of Kenzera sort of zone for me as far as this would be borderline top 3.
Yeah, for sure. I think Cat Quest is in that same boat for me as well. As I said, I think the story itself is relatively straightforward, but that puns they're throwing is what really shines.
How fucking far they take the puns is pretty remarkable.
It's pretty remarkable, yeah. And I think after a while it gets a little bit on its nose, a little bit, but
I fucking hate puns. Like,
yeah, okay.
I think they're incredibly lazy. I laughed at a good few.
I'm sort of with you as well, but there was just some that when the minute I saw that Metallica one, I know that someone's gonna like this one, so I just said that.
Yeah,
so stuff like that's really, really, really good, but there are some that sort of fall a bit flat. So I think we'll take it out for now.
And I think there's some really clever location stuff they do with the writing, like the 8-bit tower.
Oh yeah, there's some good stuff in there. There's no doubt.
Yeah. But when we're talking about the strength of what we've got here, I don't think it's going to make it.
Let's talk Plucky Squire. I think based on what's on this, of the 4 we've got left, I would probably take Indiana Jones out.
Yep.
Next, leaving us with Plucky Squire, Tactical Breach Wizards, and Banishers, Ghost of New Eden. You're obviously with me on that one, so let's remove Indiana Jones.
I think it's fantastic as your summer blockbuster replicated video games. And there is even still a little bit of nuance in some of that. But when we're talking about the quality of what we're talking about here.
Is that your Tubber? Is that your?
Yep.
Yeah, I think the way you've been talking about that game over the last all of yesterday, mate. I think that's the list we've got. So we've got Banishers, Ghost of New Eden 1, and then runners up the Plucky Squire and Tactical Breach Wizard. You're happy with that one, sir?
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. We barely said anything about Banishers.
Yeah, but you said a lot yesterday, so it's all. Yeah, it's all.
It is just a fucking fantastically written and well performed game. The story on it, at its surface, seems pretty boilerplate, but the working through the processing of grief and then that final moment where you make the decision about what happens with Antia. I've said it a couple times. The fucking the ending of that thing broke me in a way that nothing else does. Like sad moments in games, movies, TV shows. Nah, most of the time doesn't affect me. This one, whoo! I laughed when Marissa died on the OC.
All right,
shouldn't admit that, but okay.
Locking in the winner of Best Story and Writing is Banishers, Ghost of New Eden. Runners up, Plucky Squire and Tactical Breach Wizards, followed by half a dozen or so, or no, more than that, dozen or so honorable mentions. So if you want to get ready for the next category, I will flick across to you right now.
Okay, best hand feel. Now, I want to take just a quite quick moment to talk about what this category actually means, because I know you still have a bit of I don't know if it's not quite great understanding of what this category talks about. For me,
the term hand feel is just weird. That's all.
It's not. I could best gameplay is too rote.
Yeah.
And too reductive. It's basically just how does it feel in your hands to play the actual game? That's where I'm coming from. Because for years, when we've been doing Game of the Year, when you look at Game of the Year on other websites, until they get to their overall top games, you don't hear them talk about gameplay. And there are some games where the story is kind of meh, the characters aren't great, maybe it looks all right, whatever, but it plays super, super well, and that's its redeeming quality. Yep. That's what this category is about.
Yep.
Alrighty. So we have Anomaly Agent, Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, Promenade, Pacific Drive, Minishoot Adventures, Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, Turbo Kid, 9 Souls. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, which, like I said, I could have put that in story. I didn't because that's like a 4-year-old game at this point, isn't it?
Oh, close to it, yeah.
The original. Oh, no, it might even be 18.
You keep going.
Or 19? Angerfoot, Black Myth Wukong, SteamWorld Heist 2, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Tactical Breach Wizards, Dungeons of Hinterberg, Animal Well, Astro Bot, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Helldivers 2.
So 2021 for Ghost of Tsushima, original release.
Oh, really? Okay, so
we've got 19 nominees. We've got to get rid of, well, essentially.
We need to be ruthless. And here's where I start being ruthless. Promenade is great. It's gone. I think it plays really, really well. I think for that 2D style platformer, particularly in the independent space, it does a really good job. It leans a little to the collectathon sort of side, which is not a negative thing. It does it really quite well. It's just not going to get there, unfortunately. No. Anomaly Agent is a pretty rad beat 'em up. If you are more used to the beat 'em ups where you can just mash the fuck out of it and not die, you're not going to have a great time with Anomaly Agent. You need to be a bit more up on dodging and stuff like that in order not to get hit. I think that makes it a really solid version of that sort of game because sometimes the mashing just gets boring. But number one, I think we got at least three better nominees for it. Number two, I think it's maybe not going to sit as well in some regards. I definitely got annoyed at some points like, fuck! So it's gone. You've played Prince of Persia Lost Crown. I'm leaving it there. Pacific Drive I found really engaging just in playing in the environment, the exploration. Like driving the car through the different environments, getting out, looking at, there's a little, I don't know, caravan. Let's go have a look in there, see what it's got. Bust out the saw, cut doors off cars and shit. I played that mouse and keyboard. The driving wasn't as pleasant on mouse and keyboard. I think the driving would be way better on a controller, but I think the on-foot stuff wouldn't be as good on a controller. That's why I sort of went mouse and keyboard. But I still, the driving model is, for the most part, it handles really well. Does it make it? I'm going to say probably not. I dug it. Minishoot's not going anywhere yet because Minishoot's fucking fantastic. Yellow Taxi goes vroom. Like I said yesterday, very much the old school 3D platformer. When you get your head around the fact of driving a car, it works. There are some times where the carness of it gets too finicky and gets in the way, particularly trying to get some secret collectibles. And some of the techniques get a bit weird to actually try and get done in the right order because of both the car, the platform you're trying to land on, and there's a little bit, and the actual control method. It doesn't quite work as fluidly as you'd like. But for what they're trying to replicate, they bang up job. And it's gone. I don't know if I can see Turbo Kid making it for as cool as that game is. I really like Turbo Kid. Sorry, Turbo Kid, for now you're gone. 9 Souls not going anywhere, at least for now. Ghost of Tsushima, it came out a few years back. I dug it. I played the fuck out of it. I did everything I could in that game. You got any thoughts on keeping it or not?
I mean, unless it's doing anything new and unique for a open world game, it probably wouldn't hold up for something in this particular category, which, like, even though we're looking for games that play very well, or best playing game, there's probably other games that are more, I don't know what the term is, more connected to their controls than Ghost of Tsushima might be, if that's even that kind of makes sense. So I think you could probably remove it for now.
I really enjoyed cutting through those paper doors with the sword. Like, rather than open it normally like a normal person, I just straight savage go, cut through them all. Angerfoot, I really liked Angerfoot. It's super fun. It's super tight. I forgot to put I Am Your Beast on here again. If I was going to have one of those, because Angerfoot and I Am Your Beast are very much of a kind. They're very much, you can get some inspiration from Neon White. The sort of speed runny, very frenetic, very kinetic movement, combat, all of that, putting it together for the best time possible. I probably would have gone I Am Your Beast over Angerfoot slightly. I don't think either of them would make it. It is really, like, given the completely disparate art styles, like modern military and weirdly fucked up street crime.
Street crime, yeah, I'm not sure what, yeah.
How very sort of similar playing they both are. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. I wouldn't have played it as much as I did if I didn't.
Does
Black Myth Wukong is a...
Does that fall into the same category as Ghost of Tsushima, or a standardized, Dark Souls-like game that we're on there? Is that...
Yeah,
is that
I mean, it's a good one of those. It's a very good one of those.
Yeah.
Is it the best one of those this year? I didn't play Shadow of the Erdtree because I'm... Moving on. I'm not very smart. I really dug that. From a playing of Souls-likes in the calendar year of 2024, it is my personal best one. But I think part of that is it's not just the playing of it that makes that, but it does significantly help. Nine Souls is probably sort of in the same boat. They're about 1A, 1B. And I'll tell you a different one is which each day. If you ask me tomorrow. I didn't get to Erdtree because I pre-ordered it, but then realized where I had to get to actually access it, and I'm a fucking idiot. I'm going to leave it for now, even if I don't think it's going to make it. I don't have it in good conscience to take off SteamWorld Heist 2 yet.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, I actually started to sort of, over the last week and a bit, I've started to go through all of the biggest games. Like I went and started Dragon Age Veilguard, got back into Astro Bot this morning. Nobody Wants to Die, and I went back to this one as well. And I started to get my head around the different, what do they call them? Not professions.
Classes?
Classes or something we can sort of mix and match a bit.
Classes, professions, all that, yeah.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. We can sort of mix and match. They've got brawlers, engineers and stuff. And if you particular weapon types make the character a particular type of character, if that makes sense. And I think mix and matching that stuff, that has a lot of variety to what that game play can now be. So I don't think it. And
snipers are fucking awesome.
Yeah, snipers are fucking awesome. I've got that Daisy character. She
fucks shit up.
If she's available, she's the first one in the.
I maxed her leveling like halfway through that fucking game, so I just forced myself to not take her. But god damn it, particularly the latest sniper rifles and shit you find. Holy fuck.
So I think I think it probably can't come off at this point.
I think the overworld navigation and that exploration element of it's really interesting and engaging too.
Yeah, I mean, there's good. Like overall, that game is incredibly solid. And it's got a lot of stuff going for it. I'm not sure it'll hang in the top 3, but I don't think it should be gone just.
It's going to come fucking close.
Yeah, it's going to be. Maybe we'll be looking on the outside, looking in, but. Yep.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is the best Call of Duty at least since Advanced Warfare. The omnidirectional movement, I don't want to say it's a revelation because that's almost hyperbole, but holy fuck, man, that movement system they put into that game automatically makes it so much more entertaining. The slight adjustment on time to kill, or at least to my feel, the slight adjustment on time to kill is almost about right. There is some unfortunate network or some weird configuration bullshit I'm having going on right now with that game, but I can't play it for too long without it just completely shitting itself. And they transplanted the movement style into Warzone.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So I'm putting Black Ops 6 and Warzone together. I have probably north of 220 hours in this game since it came out. And I'm not even among the absolute lunatics that are level 400 in the prestige mastery that some of the people are. But I really dug it. It's still a Call of Duty.
Yeah, kind of it's probably where it's going to fall flat from this category's perspective. So,
and I think the campaign, there are some sort of instant fail stealth missions that fuck me off.
Okay. Yep.
It's largely the multiplayer I'm talking about. It's gone. Tactical Breach Wizards plays really, really well. I think it's not going to make it. I don't think it's a top 3.
Okay.
I loved playing it in the puzzle, the sort of combat puzzle, But when we're talking about some of the other games we're talking about and going to talk about, I don't think from a pure gameplay perspective, I don't think it quite overcomes some of those. The different individual abilities of the characters you can see in the key art make it so much more interesting by framing it modern military, but having the magical element to it. It lets them be a bit more outlandish. Like, in order for, if you go down, the medic here, it's not like she heals you during the fight. She just walks over, puts a magic bullet in you, and you wake back up.
Oh, okay.
And there's a magical reason for that. I can't remember what it was, but I remember it being absolutely ridiculous. I don't think it makes it. Dungeons of Hinterberg is a really cool, solid, meat and potatoes, semi-open world, semi-Zelda game. I can't justify putting it in a top 3. It's great, but it's not going to make it. Animal Well, I think most people's enthusiasm for Animal Well is tied to the puzzles and the secret stuff, like a Fez, like a Tunic, all that sort of stuff. It does play very well for that pixel style, and I was a little surprised when you actually take control of it. You're controlling just this little blob dude, not a sort of animal. Throwing a frisbee and using a frisbee to distract dogs, though, is fucking sweet. It's great by Animal Well. Yeah, Astro's not going nowhere.
No.
Not right now. I really enjoyed playing indie.
I'm surprised it's on here. I mean, it's a standard first-person game, so it's not got a lot of control nuance to it.
No.
So it does very well, no doubt, but I'm not sure it would be a top 3 game in this category.
I enjoyed exploring the environments to find all the shit I could find.
Yeah, I think it's probably that's where I think that game, in terms
that
of
and the melee combat works super well.
Yeah, the melee combat is not
fucking brutal.
It's brutal, yeah. Like as we sort of
pick up a sledgehammer and just go, "Hey, Nazi!" Poof.
Yeah. I found the hand-to-hand, like face-to-face combat, not particularly nice to engage in, but sneaking up behind a dude and hitting him over the head with a bottle is very fun.
Yep. Or just chucking an apple at someone.
Yeah, just chucking something or whatever, and then you can also pick up the bodies and stomp them in the corners and just pile them up. It's really that's fun to do. I don't know if it's going to make a top 3 based on what else is on this list, but it's as we're sort of saying.
Most of the time, I resolved combat by just running up and trying to do that.
The thing that we have one thing. I don't know. You finished it. Did you fire your gun ever?
I made a conscious effort not to shoot the gun until I absolutely had to, which was the start of basically the 3rd act.
Yeah, okay. That's the one thing I think this game doesn't really make big note of before it starts, that's even a thing you can do, as in not fire that gun. But it's something that I'm going to, like you, I'm going to try and actively not use it, just to see if it's...
I was just enjoying fucking up fascists too much.
Yeah, and the whip's really neat as well, like you whip and sort of swing across stuff. So they kept that...
I didn't do that anywhere near as much. I kept forgetting about it.
Yeah, so I think that's the problem. I think that's the thing, like you've got 2 or 3 different mechanics in that game you can use, but you just always fall back to, I can just jump across or whatever.
Swing on dudes.
So, but yeah, it probably won't make a top 3, but in terms of a AAA game like that, the controls and what you can do in that game moment to moment are actually pretty damn neat. But I'm not sure.
I think it's on par with machine games' other output.
I personally think it's better, but it's just the nature of the game is different to that.
I enjoyed the Wolfenstein games. I don't know why people shit on the gameplay of those, but one thing that's super satisfying though, if you see fascists or Nazis standing on a highish platform and you walk up behind them, or even if they're in front of you, you just press the right stick down, you press that button, and he just pushes them off. It's fucking great. Do you want to take it off?
I think so. I mean, it may come back, but I don't think.
I don't think it's going to.
I think it's make a top 3.
I really enjoy playing Helldivers 2. I think the combat controls really, really well. When you get into a situation though, when you are fucking swarmed, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best Helldivers 2 player. I'm far from it. Me and a mate of mine tried doing the 5th difficulty just to work our way up to get some pink samples, which come up on the 7th difficulty level. We couldn't handle it. We got fucking fucked. And like the tools you have at your disposal and the inputting of the stratagems, all of that stuff's really cool. There is a slight, I think, deliberate rigidity to it to keep it semi-grounded. Fighting the different... I don't necessarily like fighting the Illuminate. They're a little bit too... Not necessarily hectic, but they do a bit too much damage for my liking. The robots and the bugs are way more fun to fight because even though they can get up close and fuck you up, you can still wreck them pretty easy. I don't think it's going to make it. I enjoy the fuck out of it, but part of that is contextual and like playing with a mate of mine and talking shit and those emergent moments that come out like we talked about yesterday. Bye, Helldivers. All right, that leaves us with Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, Minishoot Adventures, Nine Souls, Black Myth Wukong, SteamWorld Heist II, and Astro Bot.
Prince of Persia, Lost Crown. You've obviously completed that game. I've not.
I have.
It's an incredibly good Metroidvania type game. Controls are very solid, very responsive to what you do, but it's still just a Metroidvania. So
it is one of those.
It is one of those. It's a very good one. But I'm not sure if a top 3 would make a top 3 based on what's on this list so far. So I would vote to remove it. But
I enjoyed playing it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's among the better sort of combat designs of a quote unquote Metroidvania, with the exception of one other game that's already on here. But it's not going to overcome what we've got. Bye.
So I'm going to plant my flag here. I'm only interested in Astro Bot getting into top 3.
What about SteamWorld?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yes, it
the ricocheting and shit, but using the actual physics and the bouncing shit to pull like fucked up shots off. That's great.
That's almost... It would almost be best moment in a thing
to an extent.
To an extent. Of the two that I don't, there's no other games on this list that I've played other than Astro Bot and SteamWorld Heist. So unless you want SteamWorld Heist in the top 3,
I'm leaning that way.
Okay, so in that case, I would probably have Astro Bot, SteamWorld Heist 2, and add another game in here. I just think Astro Bot. I think the way that Astro Bot plays, ignoring the only thing that annoys me with that game from a playing perspective is the motion sensing stuff when you're flying the plane. In some of the
you can turn that off.
Which you can turn off. I was about to say that. So once you turn off, I think that game just plays superbly.
I have some issue. I was having even the whole time I was playing it, some weird, I don't know if it was depth perception or what, but like looking like I wasn't going to hit something and then getting hit by it.
Oh yeah, one of the things I struggle with in a lot of games is if they're top down, like slightly, isometric, whatever, my depth perception of where I'm going to land or not land is just fucking shot. I can't do it.
On the platforming front, it does a really good job of that. It's more from even where attacks are coming from.
Even I struggle with that game. I was playing it this morning. I just could not jump something. So, but that's not a That's on me, not on the game. So yeah.
So I will say, after we finished yesterday, I wasn't sure what to do. I sat down to play. I played it for a couple of hours to finish off the last world or last cosmos or whatever. Came in here after dinner, tried playing Call of Duty. It shat itself. So I'm like, all right, fuck this. I'm going to play some of these levels in Astro Bot and the lost area, whatever. And I ended up going to bed after 2 o'clock. So I platinumed it.
Oh, okay. Jesus, okay.
I went and I did fucking everything. You're not going to hear a bad word. I think the jumps may be a little low for a platformer, but it's how they design the levels makes it work.
Oh yeah, the how they design the levels and even though there's a little bit of repetitive in what you can do. Yeah. Some of the sort of, because frankly, for people who haven't played it, the game is broken up into how many is it? 5, 6, 5
5.
Five
Well, technically 5, and then you get the lost levels that you get
yeah.
from the different portals in some of the
portals
levels.
So there's 5 in this side, 5 worlds, and in each side, I don't know what they can't remember what they even. I don't know if they give them a name, but
5 main levels. Most of them have
like 5 or
a
6
retro combat sort of combat challenge, a breaking the platform combat challenge, and 4 other quick levels that get harder and harder.
Yeah. So you're playing little bite-sized levels effectively that might go for 10-minute stops, I'd say, for most of them, if they haven't got a sort of a boss at the end. And then even then you'll once you've unlocked a certain amount of Astro Bots that you are saving as you're going through these things, you unlock a boss effectively, and they are the standard 3-phase, 4-phase kind of bosses. And each level will give you a sort of, for the most part, excuse me, will give you an ability that you have to very easily break into a box to get at. So there's one where you've got 2 big massive fists that you can punch a bunch of
stuff. Fuck, I love that!
That's probably the most fun one to do. They have one I just had earlier this morning was you picked up a little thing that a little suction thing on the back of you that sort of sucked up.
Yeah, a little elephant trunk.
Little trunking thing, and when you
jump up,
it blows you up, and you can also then lay a little platform to jump onto. So that's it. They've done a fair bit of. That's the first time I've seen that one. But I've had the fish one a couple of times already. So there's probably going to be maybe a dozen or so different types of those, I'd think, across the
6, maybe 8.
Oh, okay, it's not as many as I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
So
they use them a couple of different ways in a really interesting way. There are some quote unquote challenge levels that are fucking fucked. They are incredible tests, and I was so
there's one I just tried earlier. God, I don't know how I sort of triggered it, but I went into one of those in the sort of the Cosmos view of the level, the zone I'm in. There's little floating flower things. I don't know what the little
floating. I can't quite figure out how I triggered some of that. I just flew around it after a couple levels.
Yeah. Anyway, you jump, you ride into your little spaceship, and they explode into something. You then go into that level, and then I finished. It was really simple to do that one, and 4 triangles have popped out of it, and they went to 4 different locations. I did the first one of those, and I don't know if I'm even going to be able to get that one. It's an automatic running one. You're jumping. You got things blades going this way, and I did the first one. The first 5 times I just jumped off the edge, and I said, this one might not be for what I can get done because I just don't have the depth perception and the reflexes to be able to jump to get through it. Okay, I'll have another go at it, but you might be one I don't get to, but we'll see.
There is a final challenge that takes that to an nth degree, and it's fucking rough. But when I got through it, I'm like, oh, and the holiday level they did is super clever.
The level
the holiday level and the speedrun levels unlocked after I finished it all, and
the level design in the game is basically second to none, essentially. When it comes to that sort of game, so
we have 4.
So we have Minishoot Adventures, 9 Souls, SteamWorld Heist 2, and Astro Bot. So if you're thinking Astro Bot makes it and you think SteamWorld Heist 2 makes it, you've got to choose. Maybe you don't. You've got to choose which one of Minishoot Adventures or 9 Souls doesn't make the cut. Unless you cut SteamWorld Heist. But I don't think Astro Bot has to stay. I don't think there's.
Astro Bot is staying. There is no conversation on that tip. It's staying.
That has to be top 3.
The way I'm approaching this is as these Game of the Year awards are a reflection of you and I. It's not just me. It's not just you. So, SteamWorld Heist 2, for example, we both really enjoyed playing. And I really like the sort of 2D XCOM stuff they do with the ricocheting and the different ways you can come up with different strategies, use the characters' abilities in different ways, and just go on absolute fucking tears. Just ripping through. And even when it gets fucked, you only wind back a couple of turns on the save. The auto save's fairly generous. For as much as I think 9 Souls is fucking fantastic, and spoilers.
What sort of game 9 Souls?
Metroidvania Sekiro.
Okay, cool. Yep.
So very Souls-like in its combat. from a 2D perspective. Dodges are quite essential. Parrying is almost more essential. So timing a parry to deflect and then create a counter opportunity. And sometimes it can be really easy to get overwhelmed and fuck that timing up and get absolutely ruined. I think as a reflection of the two of us, I think you might enjoy Minishoot more than you enjoy Nine Souls.
I'd say so.
I don't think you would, like, knowing it has sort of at least very significant, like, Souls-like hooks, I think that me saying that, you go like, nope. Whereas Minishoot, even though it's got the bullet hell nature, it's not extreme bullet hell like an Ikaruga, like those viral Japanese scrolling shoot 'em ups. It's manageable enough to deal with, and the Zelda elements, the exploration of the world and the little puzzles you solve, they're not brain-breaking puzzles off the top of my head for the most part, but they're engaging and fun enough to make that experience really worthwhile and really enjoyable. I really dig Minishoot. I think it's fantastic, but realistically, let's face it, it's fucking Astro Bot, isn't it?
It has to be Astro Bot, yeah. It's
Any feeling on switching these two? You don't really care?
No, as you mentioned a couple of times, on the same level ultimately, so no, it's all good.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's finalize it. Best hand feel. The winner is Astro Bot. Runners-up, Minishoot Adventures and SteamWorld Heist 2. And a graveyard-ish of honorable mentions.
Bunch of honorable mentions, yep.
Yep. So we go back out here. We got 2 left.
We are in Best New Character NPC. So this is this can be a little bit tricky.
Hang on a sec. Before you start, can I just say, I love it when you have to read the shit I pick out. That's kind of, I'm a little bummed that we're not doing Best Moment just because I fucking love making you read through the shit I put. It's fucking great. I'm bummed we're not doing it, but that's okay.
So this is where you're nominating characters, multiples is sometimes from a single game. So you will see the same game mentioned twice here, but they'll be for different characters. We have quite a few nominees. We have, back to what you were just saying, Buttface from Lil Guardsman, Sargon from Prince of Persia Lost Crown, Friendly Dumpster from Pacific Drive, Red from Banishers Ghost of New Eden, The Ship from Minishoot Adventures, The Duck Detective from The Duck Detective, The Secret Salami, Mara and Elaine from Crow Country. You have to explain why there's not.
I will in a moment.
Shawshane or whatever.
Shawn
from Nine Souls. Megacopter Blades of Goddess has Jack Copter. The Horse from Ghost of Tsushima. Vivian from Fear the Spotlight. Amy from Fear the Spotlight. Emmerich Voss from Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Moonbeard from the Plucky Squire. Thrash from the Plucky Squire. And that rounds out our 15 nominees.
I'm surprised you didn't have the other arse face from the dipshit. What's his name?
Oh, Huggrump. Yeah.
From Plucky Squire.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I thought, I prefer to go have. If it was of the three, I would choose one of those two. Would the Thrash or Moonbeard would be the one that would go through.
I would pick Moonbeard out of those two personally.
Yeah, so would I. We've got to get rid of 12. So I'm only familiar with only like 3 or 4 of these, so it's going to be hard for me to sort of put anything through. But I guess first of all, let's go back to where was it? Where was the one that had 2 people named? Where was that one?
Go up.
Go up, wasn't it?
It is there.
Country. So why is there 2 people, 2 names?
Because they're the same person.
Oh, they're the same person, are they? Okay, so they changed personality.
There's a reveal. Sorry, I accidentally played through this entire game on stream on video.
Okay.
Like in one shot. So I think she starts off as Mara, not knowing her childhood background, things like that. She's rocked up to this abandoned amusement park run by some fucking crazy lunatic rich dude. And as she's exploring it, trying to figure out what's going on, she stumbles across the fact that she is part of this rich dude's family, was his daughter, I think, and either she knew, I can't remember if she knew this or if she didn't, but the turn in the story where you're like, oh, fuck, she's actually her,
okay.
is executed really quite well. I thought it was clever. It doesn't need to be there.
All right, it is the first one gone. Let's go back to the top. So we've got Buttface from Lil Guardsman.
Buttface is just a tribute to those 90s point-and-click adventure games. He rocks up to the guardsman's booth and basically wants to get into the city. He's got this weirdly sort of pixelated art style to him in comparison to the very drawn sort of art style that's in the key art. And he just spouts off 90s point-and-click adventure tropes all over the joint. I thought it was super clever. I thought his character design was really quite clever as well, because obviously in a medieval setting, you got an orcish looking character. People are going to have a problem with that. So it delves quite nicely into, like, without him trying to, it does a pretty nice job of handling that. But the throwback and the sort of, not necessarily inspiration, but that representation of 90s point and click, I thought was super clever, super funny. Like encapsulating him as a character. He can go.
Okay. He is gone.
I can't remember who Sargon is. Is he the dude who fucking kills you?
I've not played that game, so I can't. I'm not sorry.
You've played Prince of Persia?
I haven't finished it. Is what I should have said.
Oh.
So I didn't put this. I assume you did, so you would know who Sargon is.
I probably wrote it down at the time and thought it was dope, and then no, I'm not looking at a fucking fandom page. Get fucked. Sargon is the quote-unquote big bad, or who ends up being the big bad.
Because early on, it's like it's a friend of.
Yeah, friend / mentor.
Yeah, I can't remember the prince. This guy.
No, he's not the prince.
No, he's not. That's what I'm saying. I can't remember what his name was, but yeah. So anyway, so he can be gone.
Bounce him.
Cool. Done. The friendly dumpster from Pacific Drive.
It's a dumpster that you go up to, you interact with it, and it spits out a bunch of shit.
Does he say stuff? Does he do stuff? Does he?
Rom.
Oh, yeah.
Rom.
Okay.
Get rid of it. I thought it was fucking rad. There are a couple of really cool characters in that game, but I don't think they were going to hold, so I didn't put them.
I suspect Red will be one of your...
Red is not going anywhere.
Red is not going anywhere. That's fair enough. The ship from Minishoot Adventures.
One of my favorite things in that game is when you level up or you complete an objective, the ship does a little spin. It's pretty neat. You can take it off.
Okay.
This is what I mean by I think like a lot of these characters, like categories, we bang out kind of quick.
Yeah. The Duck Detective from the Duck Detective.
I like that character.
I like the character a lot. I mean, it plays up the noir trope.
Why don't we have the dude from Nobody Wants to Die?
Yeah, good point. I can't remember what his name is now. I just played it yesterday. James something? James.
Let me see. I look it up. James Cara.
All right. Okay. Yeah, add him in.
I'm going to add that right now. Whoa! Just came up with a 404.
Okay.
All right. Whoops. Helps fucking spell right. All right, he's been added.
All right, cool. Let's go back to who we were. So the Duck Detective, I think he can stay for now.
For now.
He might not make it, but we can say for now. Sean from Nine Souls.
Xuan is a kid from the first village, or from the village in the opening that you come across. His village are pretty much religious zealots. And volunteer, or there's a group of them that volunteer every year to go into some like mincing machine to sacrifice themselves to the gods. And the character, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the character in the key art basically goes, "You motherfuckers are motherfuckers. What are you doing? This isn't going to do shit." And he saves Xuan and takes him with him. He comes really close to being that annoying fucking whingy kid. But you recognize that because he's a kid who's been incredibly sheltered over his life, there's things he doesn't know. And he humanizes... what the fuck is this dude's name? hate it when I don't remember shit like this. Kunlun E. Who's saying Yi YI is the name of the character in the key art. Xuan Xuan humanizes him in a really great way, and it sort of grounds him a bit because he's this really super serious, self-serious sort of soldier assassin type who's just like, fuck this, we're killing everyone. And then we're leaving. And the way in which the interactions are written, both in just the minor interactions in building the character over the course of the story and the big moments that get punctuated by Xuan Xuan's responses, there's a real depth to it that you don't actually expect from a character that's about sort of 8 to 10, maybe 12. I wouldn't say 12, 8 to 10. And he just happens to pick things up super quick and become actually really quite useful as well. I just really like the arc of Xuan Xuan and how he humanized Yi. And particularly when the ending happens, the ending I got, the emotion that Xuan Xuan feels himself in having to leave and the emotional impact that has on Yi, which he doesn't really display much emotion over the course of the story. I think Xuan Xuan's fantastic as a character. One that you don't really expect.
Jack Copter from Megacopter Blades of the Goddess.
That's literally one of the only things that game has going for it. I think it's the name of the pilot.
Oh, okay.
The copter has a name. The copter's also. I talked about this briefly when I talked about it on the podcast. The helicopter is both a helicopter and an ancient demon that needs blood of murdered people to survive. So you pilot the helicopter to kill people, or it's going to start killing people on its own.
Oh, okay.
It's fucking weird. But the pilot's name's Jack Copter. I thought that was fucking hilarious.
Okay.
Get rid of it.
The Horse, Ghost of Tsushima, Director's Cut.
I really should have put fuck. The dude's what's the goddamn dude's name? Tsushima. Let's see if I can remember. Probably not. Characters. Jin Sakai. For his that really accurate portrayal of the samurai warrior and all that sort of stuff, but how flexible he can be with being introduced to new ways and going, wait, hang on. This new way of doing things is very different from our traditions, but it's fucking effective. And the relationships he develops over the course of the game, I think, is super solid. But because of it being out for quite some time, I didn't think it quite was going to fit. The horse, though, is hilarious because sometimes the horse will just come meandering into cutscenes.
Okay.
And then when you finish a mission, there'll be just little interstitial animation, like things where Jin's leaning against the horse, and the horse just nudges him and goes, basically, they go, we need to fucking move.
Yeah, okay.
Or they're just sort of both laying on the ground, napping, and Jin gets up, and then the horse basically shakes it off, gets up, and is ready to go. I love that horse, man. It's there's a moment that something happens to that horse, and it's a fucking bummer. Anyway.
Staying, going?
Oh, get rid of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You've got Vivian and Amy from Fear the Spotlight, which I assume are the two characters from the cover art.
They are indeed. Vivian is the bespectacled sort of nerd character, and Amy is the punk rock
/ goth, I guess. Maybe.
Accused to be semi-Satanist goth chick, who is severely misunderstood. Do they play into some of the stereotypes around LBGT characters? Maybe. Like the sort of like the goth chick who's into girls, likes horror movies, all that sort of stuff. But they're both very open to the other's interests and want to impress the other. And they very much inhibit that teenage anxiety of, I really like her, but I don't know if she likes me, and I don't want to say anything because in case it breaks our friendship and all this sort of stuff. Of course, they both like each other because that's the story. They're not going to not like each other because granted, there would be no story if that wasn't the case. But they both have quite interesting backstories too. You get a bit of Vivian's as you play, but you get more of Amy's in the second chapter. Because you end up going through weird survival horror shit. I don't know. You end up going back to Amy's childhood home and her breaking down the relationship that broke down between her mother and her father and how all of that plays out. And it ends up making both of the characters quite layered and quite deep, or deeper than you'd expect, rightly or wrongly, that you expect from video games. You don't expect these sorts of characters to have a sort of level of narrative depth to them. In a way where they're both really well voice acted. To an extent, they both represent minority groups, obviously in the LGBT plus part, but Vivian's family's either roots in Pakistan or India off the top of my head. And I think Amy's is some possibly Asian American background. There's an element of the punk rock sort of metal stuff that's pretty cool as well, where Vivian's sort of like, I don't like this Ouija board, but Amy seems to think it's cool, so I'm going to get it put in here for her. And it's just that weird teenage sort of awkwardness that comes out. It's really, I think they do a really good job both building the characters and building their relationship. But because we got 3 spots, number one, 2 characters from the same game aren't going to make it unless they're fucking Shakespearean. I don't know which I would choose. Maybe Amy over Vivian. But there's an argument to be made. I don't know where either of them are going to make it.
Okay, so we'll leave them for now. Emmerich Voss, which I've not got to in the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So he's that
He
guy
pops up very briefly
right
at the
there?
end of the Vatican. Hey?
Oh,
yes, he is that dude.
Bottom right of the cover right there. Okay, so I will come across him soon then, because that's where I am at the moment in the Vatican. Okay.
Would it shock you to learn that Nazis are a piece of shit?
No, not really.
He plays a piece of shit spectacularly well as well. He's very eloquent, comes across as very educated, but the Nazi-ness of him and that sort of viciousness is there too. And he seems fairly simplistic, like, oh, he's a Nazi, of course he's a dick. But there's an element where he really enjoys the manipulation of people and plays it off as being very easy. And it's really satisfying to be able to kick the shit out of that dude. But seeing his interactions when he corners Indy and Gina, and some of the things he ends up saying to Gina to get a reaction out of her, you just like sitting there going, hey, you motherfucker. In a way that you would expect a good villain to be.
Yep. We have 2 characters from the Plucky Squire, Moonbeard and Thrash. So Moonbeard is the guy bottom right of the cover art here, little wizardy dude, and Thrash is this guy with the blue dude with the drumsticks. He's a metal guy.
I love his arc.
Does this a lot, which is really cool. Yeah, like he's neat. I mean, he has a like you do in the game. You kind of do a couple of for the one better term,
borderline loyalty missions,
loyalty levels, whatever you want to call them, just to not that you're doing it to gain their trust or anything. You're basically doing missions for that character. You don't do one for Moonbeard. Moonbeard is just an NPC character, but he just drops in and talks to the 3 characters who you're doing most of the game with. He's just a cool character. He's just got lots of...
I love when you go into his house at the start of the fucking game and he's just sitting there on turntables, like rocking
away, yeah. And then he'll...
he wants a soda.
He wants a soda. I just think a lot of things he does are just...
fucking dipshit.
Lots of little things. I think of the 2, I'd probably pick Moonbeard over Thrash of the 2. But Thrash is really neat. As you said, he does a pretty good... character arc is quite good for him. But I think of the 2, I'd probably lean towards Moonbeard. So let's remove Thrash for the time being.
Also, Thrash is nowhere near as cool as Deathcore.
No.
There we go, I said it.
The last character we've got is James Kara from Nobody Wants to Die. He is the main detective that you play as. He is interacting with the environment. He's also talking sort of Firewatch style with a... Do you ever get to see Sarah at all? No,
yes.
You do? Okay.
Yes.
In the future, so in the game as well. So you in the bit I've played so far, it's just voice acting, just talking to each other through the radio things or something. He's got the character where like he's the noir detective, down on his luck, all that kind of stuff. He's got
Pretty stereotypical for the genre.
Pretty stereotypical, yeah, exactly. But it's
but it plays well.
Plays very well. So I think probably leave him for now.
Very Max Payne to an extent.
Yep. Let's go back to the Vivian and Amy decision. Which one would you lean of those two to make it through, or possibly make it through?
For possibly making it, I like Vivian's awkwardness and her determination in wanting to help Amy and be there for Amy. I think Amy's character gets presented with a bit more depth because of the backstory you get to explore. Amy would be the one of the two, barely. But again, either going to make it.
Probably not, but let's remove one now because we've just got one from that game. So we're going to remove Vivian from Fear the Spotlight. So after that initial cut, we have got Red from Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, the Duck Detective from Duck Detective, The Secret Salami, Chon from Nine Souls, Amy from Fear the Spotlight, Emmerich Voss from Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Moonbeard from the Plucky Squire, and James Kara from Nobody Wants to Die.
I don't think Moonbeard or Emmerich Voss are going to make it. Emmerich Voss is a spectacular piece of shit, but is he a piece of shit we haven't already seen in
that's kind of
movies and video games? Yeah. He's a fucking Nazi. He's a well-educated one. He's a very eloquent one. That doesn't mean he's not still a fucking Nazi.
Yep.
Is he a piece of shit that says things to fucking get a reaction out of people? Yes. But it's not like we haven't seen that sort of trope before. Yep. He's fucking well performed, though. I will say that. I almost thought about putting Indiana Jones. I'm like, oh wait, that doesn't count.
I don't want to see Moonbeam go on just yet.
Okay.
I would probably. What about the Duck Detective? The Duck Detective from the Duck Detective. Where do you see him making a top 3? I don't think he does.
I think James Kara is the detective.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The Duck Detective's more of a lighthearted take on it, and I think the voice acting behind it's super well done to play into that stereotype.
Oh, for sure.
Like the Duck Detective plays the stereotype and sort of winks and nods at it and does some things with it to be a bit clever and be a bit funny. Whereas Nobody Wants to Die plays it really straight.
Yeah.
But tries to do things with it where, like, there are times where you'd think James would just go, fuck this, and give it up or whatever.
Yeah.
And there are elements where, of course, the noir piece of shit detective who engages in habits that are bad for him and all sorts of stuff like that. Like a bottle of booze in the car.
Yeah, they're both fairly...
the strength of the performance on it.
Oh, from that perspective, yes, the James Kara character is a much stronger character of those two. So let's... Sorry, Detective, you are gone.
Yep.
Of the two that I've sort of got remaining in this race, I would probably lean towards James Kara, probably over Moonbeard.
Go back up for a sec.
If we had this conversation a month ago, it would not have been that because I hadn't played Nobody Wants to Die there. How far
Take Amy off.
Take Amy off. Okay, goodbye, Amy.
Amy's fucking awesome. She's not going to make it.
So is Red locked for you? I'm guessing so.
Yep.
Okay. Sean from Nine Souls.
I would personally take Xuan over Moonbeard only from the perspective of I think there's more to Xuan's character than there is to Moonbeard's.
By the sounds of it, there's a lot more to it by what you described.
That's the only thing that would put those two over, like, order those two for me.
Yeah, I think from that respect, let's remove Moonbeard.
Moonbeard's fucking awesome, and I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. He reminds me of the wizard character from the Where's Wally cartoon.
Okay, fair enough. So we're remaining with Red, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, Chon from Nine Souls, Nobody Wants to Die is James Kara.
Bare minimum move, Nobody Wants to Die up 1.
Okay, not that
even though it doesn't really matter. But
yeah, Red obviously. I think from what we've been discussing this episode and last episode, Red is obviously a clear winner of this one, I suspect.
He's played so well, and like the quiet moments are punctuated really, really well by the subdued performance. He does a really good job of playing the dude behind it does a really good job of playing the emotional, quiet moments while still making the dialogue really, really effective.
Just curious, why did you nominate the other character?
I think there's more to Red.
Okay.
Like there is of Antia does have a struggle with her situation and the loss she's going to experience when this all comes to pass from going away from Red. Because Red has to deal with the aftermath and him trying to prepare himself for that aftermath, where she acknowledges, once we're done, I'm either going up that way or going down that way.
Okay.
Or it's pretty much and like she definitely wants to make sure that he's in a good place before that happens. But she also acknowledges that, you're the one who has to deal with this.
Okay, good.
So a good part of that is, and there was a turn that happens in that game where, like, because you're helping to deal with this borderline fucking religious fanatic, almost cult, Christian cult, because it's the new world. Like Antia makes there's a part where Antia sort of turns a little bit and gets really fucked off at dudes. So by extension, she sort of takes it out on Red a little bit. But then, like 10 minutes later, she just interacts with him like nothing happened.
Okay, yep.
So there's a slight inconsistency on that tip, purely because of the nature of the sort of game it is. But while, yes, I understand her being pissed at guys, because guys in that day and age in particular were fucking monsters, the way she takes it out on Red a little bit, I felt was a bit unfair.
All right.
But,
right, we are going to lock this one in. So the winner of Best New Character is Red from Ghost of Tsushima. Sorry, not where did I get that from?
That would make Ghost of Tsushima very different.
Red from Banishers Ghost of New Eden. James Kara from Nobody Wants to Die, and Sean from Nine Souls are runners up, and a dozen or so, as usual, of honorable mentions.
There's a part of me there is a significant part of me that's really fucking glad we're not doing best moment.
Back to we are now into
this campaign.
Whoops, that's not what I want to do. We want to press.
It's me again.
That button.
Hooray! So best campaign. We talked. I think we did this for the first time last year or the year before. I can't remember which.
No, we've done that for a while. I thought, haven't we? Sure, we've done.
It's only been the last few years off the top.
Maybe it is.
Either way, it's a culmination of the gameplay, the storytelling, the characters' interactions, the presentation. Not necessarily from a best game perspective, but how do those things in the actual sitting down and playing from hour 0 to hour 30, 40, 50 or less than. And what it does and the sort of twists and turns that it takes on that path, both partly narratively and partly from a gameplay perspective. So that's sort of where we are for that. Now, we've got Fear the Spotlight as a nomination, as is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Minishoot Adventures, SteamWorld Heist 2, Economics, Is This Game Trying to Kill Me?, Turbo Kid, Astro Bot, The Plucky Squire.
I'm actually going to add a new game.
Okay, cool.
So
while you're adding a game, I'm going to remove Economics because for as dope as that is and playing through that whole campaign is, it's pretty one note.
Okay, because you were praising
in what you do. I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
You were praising that story and the stuff in the
yeah. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but I don't think it's going to fit, or I don't think it's going to make it. Is the problem? I think this is a category where SteamWorld Heist 2 is going to perform incredibly well.
Yes, I agree. So if you want to scroll down, I've added one more game. If you go to the very bottom,
Horizon Forbidden West.
Forbidden West. That game's obviously been out for a couple of years, so it's not an unknown campaign. But I really thoroughly enjoyed what that game has you do, and the DLC for it is also really good. So,
Turbo Kid. I mean, it's a Metroidvania. It's not like we haven't seen those before. The bike aspect makes it really enjoyable to play. I probably could have. I can't remember if I had this in Best Handfeel, but like the actual elements of it sort of hits the same note as Laker Age True Blood with the motorbike stuff, the motorbike Metroidvania from a couple years ago. That is on a very similar level, both qualitatively and from a framing device. It's the post-apocalypse. There are some sort of shady religious-y types overbearing on everyone. I think the campaign is really enjoyable. It's not making it. Fear the Spotlight, like I said, tells a great story and does a really good job of
why is Banishers Ghost of New Eden not in here?
That's a fucking good question. Because I'm not very smart. Because now we've just made this instantaneously more harder for ourselves. Oh, now that we've got that, I don't think I think even less Fear the Spotlight's making it. By keeping it so confined and so compact, like ended up finishing both the first and second chapters within about 5-ish hours.
Okay, yep.
But like the compactness works to its benefit because it doesn't draw things out and it doesn't outstay its welcome. Mm-hmm. It does a really good. There's the exploration part of a survival horror game that I really enjoy. They do just enough of that. The puzzles, for the most part, I could figure out, which is nice for a pleasant change because some of them are so fucking esoteric. I don't know how the fuck people figure them out in the first place, outside of me not being that smart in certain ways. But I don't think it's getting there over what we've got. Mm-hmm. I think it's really clever. I think it's really well done. I think it's out. Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say about Indiana Jones.
You finish it, so how would you say with the overall? Really, really.
I think it does for the most part, great job. Mm-hmm. Of what we've got here, I don't know if I have that.
I don't think I'd be pushing that one above some of the other ones on this list. So I think you can probably go pretty much for that reason alone.
Yeah. Minishoot is fantastic. I've already talked about that a bunch. Mm-hmm. I don't know how it's going to go with the two of us, particularly based on some of the other things we got here.
Yeah, I think it might be like similar about doing Indiana Jones. I think we just had. So
yeah,
probably remove
sadly. SteamWorld's not going anywhere.
Nope, no, I don't think so. No.
Not yet, anyway, because this is why this category exists, because it marries the sort of gameplay and the story part to an extent, because the exploration in the little sub, doing all of that stuff was super cool. And while it may not have been the tightest and the best, because it's hard to do that sort of shit really well, it's still fucking fun and engaging. And then you roll up on, I did every mission in that game. I got every star. And it's super satisfying to pull out a fucking sniper rifle and slap someone in the head. There we go. Okay.
So this game is trying to tell me is the first one that's been made an appearance. So you have to do a fair bit of talking with this one. I just don't know. I just can't remember anything about this one.
So I accidentally found out about this through a demo or something I found on Steam, and I played the demo and I'm like, this is cool. I need to play this when it comes out. It's about 3 hours long.
Okay. Yep.
It's kind of an escape room. Mm-hmm. But like you can see the screen here, and the concept of is the game trying to kill me. You're invited to sit down and play this game on this computer in the actual, like you wake up in some fucking cabin in the middle of the woods, and it's like, here, play this game, and you start playing it. You're, I guess, nudged to do that by this guy here, but you end up finding out pretty quickly that there are consequences in the game that have consequences in the real world. Like, there are puzzles you solve in the game that open doors in the cabin.
Oh, okay. Yep, interesting.
And you can die in the game, which kills you in the game, kills you outside of the game.
Okay.
So it's about this dual layer sort of escape room while playing this sort of puzzle game on a computer where they both have an influence on each other, and solving the puzzles combined to make it all work for you to eventually get out. Mm-hmm. I think it's super clever for what it is, and the way it because normally escape rooms, number one, fucking shit me because they rely on oftentimes a really specific way of thinking that I don't necessarily have sometimes. I think I might have had to look up maybe one or two things for this just to actually figure it out. But there were some things I didn't have to. But I think the interplay between the playing of the game on the computer and the interaction with the actual world and how those two play off each other and how those two impact on each other is super clever. But again, with what we've got, for as interesting and as cool and as clever as that is, I don't think it's getting there. I don't think it's getting there. It would pain me to take it off, but with the 6 games we've got left, with this being one of them, I don't think it overcomes 3 or 4 of them.
No, I don't. I kind of think I know what the 3 might be at this point, but
I think this is super clever, and people should. I accidentally played through that entire thing on stream during the holidays too. So that's up on the YouTube channel, but it's like 10 or $15 on Steam. It's really clever, in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I think people really should have a look at this.
Yep.
But it's gone.
You can also remove Horizon Forbidden West can go.
Now we're in it.
So this is where we've got. Who we've got left?
SteamWorld Heist 2, Astro Bot, Plucky Squire, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden.
I think the Plucky Squire's got to be the one to go, to be honest. I really do. Yeah, I mean, it's if I was to remove one, it would be SteamWorld Heist would go.
Fuck. I was going to suggest it, but I didn't want to poke the bear.
Because I think you're really good. Like the Banishers game, like it's not a game I'm going to play. It's clearly not going to happen. No. But you've been praising that story and those 2 characters and everything about that. And you said also plays very well, which is another part of this process. Really well.
Did I have it on Best Surprise?
I think you did, yeah. Pretty sure you did. Give me 2 seconds.
We'll have to go back and check that in a sec, because I can't remember if I did. If I didn't, I'm a fucking idiot.
No, you didn't. You had it in Best...
Fuck!
You had it in Best New Thing, though, I would have thought. Yes, it's in Best New Thing.
Why didn't I have it in Best Surprise? Motherfucker. Alright, whatever. Too late to rid of it. Well, if we were litigating the past, then I'd be going back about best game you didn't have time to finish. But anyway.
Yeah, so what I was getting at was that of the 4 games that are on this list, Astro Bot we're both playing and really like. Although, now I'm sort of thinking about it, I think Astro Bot could probably go as well. Cause it's...
The quote-unquote campaignness of it is maybe not the quote-unquote... because of when we're talking about this...
It's not a campaign as a campaign is. Like, it hasn't got there's no story driving you through the levels. There's just, go do this thing and... Like, there's a story of a sort. You're trying to rebuild the PlayStation 5, whatever it is, in the Crash World or something. But that's the only...
The story is minimal.
So maybe that should go. Maybe that's the one that should really go.
Like... For as fucking awesome as playing that is, it's literally just a series of levels.
Yeah, there's no link.
Like the actual narrative hooks that connect it all aren't what SteamWorld Heists are, aren't what Plucky Squires are for you. Like, I'm not saying that I hate the Plucky Squire, I don't view it as highly as you did. And Banishers, I think taking Ash. I was gonna suggest Plucky Squire, but the more I think about particularly what you just mentioned about the campaigness of Astro, Astro's out.
We've now got our 3.
Hey.
You happy with that order, or do you want to have Banishers top?
Well, I mean, it'd be a bit fucked for me to put Banishers up top, given I forgot to put it on the fucking list, wouldn't it? No, I dug Banishers and played the fuck out of it, but I think from what we're talking about from a campaign perspective, with that marrying of narrative and gameplay, SteamWorld Heist 2 for me is a better representative of that. Like, the story and the writing in Banishers might be better. If you didn't have that story there and the different narrative elements driving it forward, I may not have stayed with it as long. Whereas I was already on board with SteamWorld Heist 2 from the time it was called SteamWorld Heist 2, because I played the first one, enjoyed the fuck out of it, and yeah, I'm good with that.
Yep, all right, we'll lock it in.
Okay, best campaign of 2024, SteamWorld Heist 2, The Plucky Squire, and Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, with not quite the graveyard of honourable mentions this time around. That's nice for a pleasant change. All right, we have now hit the business end.
We have. So what we're going to do now is we've got our 2 lists. We're going to pinch a format from Nextlander, who pinched a format from Remap, who pinched it from somebody else.
That's where I knew it started with R. I wanted to say reset error, but I'm like, wait, that's basically Reddit.
Yeah.
But maybe less toxic assholes.
So we're going to basically go through our list alternative. So 10 from me, 10 from Steve, 9 from blah, blah, blah. If a game is in my list that is higher up on Steve's list or vice versa, we leave it until the person who's got it at the highest position. We talk about it more. Now, a lot of these games we've already talked about a lot, so this is not going to be a particularly long segment. But when we complete our top 10s each, we're going to bring them into a final top 10, and then we're going to try and sort it into an actual top 10, which is going to be good fun. But we'll get there in a moment. So I will. I'm going to be doing a lot of flicking back and forth in this a little bit, so bear with me while I'm doing that.
We haven't done this before, so there might be some.
This is a bit new. I haven't done this bit before, so I'm going to start with. I'll flick over to me. So that's my honourable mentions. There's a game that were on the list but didn't quite get in.
I'm surprised SteamWorld. I guess if you haven't finished it.
I haven't finished it, so that's probably why. That's the reason why it's not theirs, because I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
We've been playing Luma Island the last good 4 or 5 weeks pretty solidly. Really enjoying that. SteamWorld Heist 2 is really, really good. I'm getting back into it. So, again, like if we had this conversation in a month's time, my list could probably be quite different. But it is a point in time. So, and Caravan SandWitch I really enjoyed, but it didn't make the top 10. I'll do my actual first top 10. And then we'll go across to
your 10th.
My 10th. My first 10th game is Star Wars Outlaws. I thoroughly enjoyed what I've played of this game. It's one of the ones I'm going to get back to. I really enjoyed the character, Kess, and the little dude, Kay, sorry. Kess is from another game, sorry.
She's also Kay Vest, so I can see you got Kess too.
So I've just really enjoyed the game of playing it so far. It's the open worldness is not quite as overbearing as the other open world games that Ubisoft are sort of known for. So I think the scale.
It's definitely not the icon map buff that
exactly.
they've had in the past.
They have sort of scaled that stuff back. I'm really enjoying a lot of it. The sound's really good. The voice acting's great. The cuts, it's got a lot going for it. Again, if I had this conversation in a month's time, it may be different because I haven't. By then, maybe finished it. But yeah, at this point, that is where I'm at with it. So, over to you for just get onto your honourable list. Oh, that's yours?
I already have.
You already have? Cool. Over to you.
All right, there might be a couple of surprises here for you in particular.
There are a couple.
So real quick, Ghost of Tsushima. I played the fuck out of it, but because it's not a genuine 2024 game, I don't think I could justify it being on there. Lil Guardsman was really hard to leave off because I enjoyed the fuck out of that. All of these games were really hard to leave off in some way, shape, or form. Balatro, I thought was. I've talked a lot about the qualities of Prince of Persia, Anomaly Agent, Dungeons of Hinterberg, Angerfoot. We haven't talked much about Cat Quest, but Cat Quest, I spoke plenty about the first two and how much.
It's on my list. It's on my list, so we'll get to it.
And I've already said how much I enjoyed the first two, so I really enjoyed this one. And I talked a bunch about I Am Your Beast and the similarities between that and Angerfoot. Balatro, I've already mentioned the randomness and the roguelikiness is what drags that down for me because that inherent repetition and failure state just ends up fucking you over in a way that sometimes feels a bit unfair. I mean, it's bound to. It's true random. It's poker. It's going to happen. But when you have a build very specifically done in a certain way and you come across a blind that just completely fucks your build over and makes it seem just completely insurmountable, there was no worse feeling for me this year than that. But my number 10, hey, what a shock. Well, actually, purely because, no, I'll explain why in a sec. But like, number one, I'm not going to sit here and say...
Get rid of all the other comments.
It was very, very hard to order this list. Okay. I struggled with ordering this list pretty big, particularly picking the 10. Like you saw the honorable mentions. I really enjoyed Banishers. It's one of those sort of action adventure games that is... and of a tier that you don't really see as much because Risk is so fraught in the games industry these days. but I think it's super well written. The interactions and the characterization of Red and Antia, how they work individually and how they work together, was super well done. Incredibly well done. The exploration of the world in between doing your different quests and your different missions and stuff like that, I really enjoyed. It had like the usage of the term immersive sim for that exploration and just like grabbing shit out of people's houses is not fully accurate, but I really enjoyed that part. I don't know, maybe I have elements of being a thief, but I'm just not clever enough or too clumsy to do it. But I think this is like, and when we go through the rest of mine, you'll see why it's quote unquote only at 10. But this was a rough one to just have it 10.
All right. So my next game is, and if you've got this one higher, we stop talking about it.
I'll say.
So my next one is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
I have it.
Whereabouts is it on your list?
Slightly higher.
Slightly higher. Okay. So we'll wait to that one. So basically, now go back to your number 9 game,
which is Pacific Drive. This was another one that, like, to put it at number 9 almost hurt. Because I fucking really dug it. I thought the story that it overall told was written, put together really, really well. And it was just the right level of the survival parts that I could function with, because it wasn't that massively elaborate tech tree, kind of what we've talked about with Loomer Island. But grounding it in, like, the zones are relatively small but still able to be explored. The maintenance of the car was actually really quite engaging. And just engaging in the actions to fucking take the door off, repair it, or take the tire off, throw it away, hit it with a saw and cut it up. The hoarding of materials and of items out of the world was really engaging and really fun. I dig that. Yeah, it's a really good one of those. It's not full roguelike. I don't. Some people called it roguelike because of it's run based. You're going off on these different pathways to try and get to this endpoint. I don't think the roguelike label is a fair one for it.
Because roguelike implies you're doing the same run over and over again, whereas this is you're going to different environments and different.
You can choose different locations to go to and stuff.
Yeah. So it's not quite the same.
Once you get deeper and deeper, there is somewhat of a slight monotony in going through those early sections again. But it's just as simple as, fuck this, I'm not stopping, I'm not looking at any of these boxes, I'm just driving.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's nice to just, go for a drive.
All right, so I'm going to go back to my number 8 game. Because you had Indiana Jones higher on your list, so I'm going to go back to mine, which is I Am Future.
Not on my list.
Not on your list. I didn't think it would be. So
I played it.
I know you played it. So I Am Future is a survival game of a sorts, but it's a very cozy one. You play as...
Literally has cozy survival in its full title.
It's a full title. It's got like a subtitle thing to its name. I've not actually finished the story of that game, and it does go some weird places. If I
fuck haven't you finished it? You've got 60 hours in it.
I just haven't finished it. I just haven't finished the story part of it. So haven't finished it. It's one of those games where you can just do a lot of bits and pieces in it and not actually progress the story. I think if I do finish it, if I had finished the story based on where it's sort of going, it might have actually been a best writing, even a best story kind of a nominee. But I think it's, without knowing it's going to stick that landing of that story, I'm not too sure. So we'll come back to this and finish it and come back to it in a future podcast. But it's my number 8 game. As I said, I played 60 odd hours of it. It's just one of those games where you just put on something else on YouTube, or put a podcast on, or put other music on. The story you're getting is just through written dialogue, so you don't have to listen to anything. The music is incredibly repetitive.
Yes.
You just repeat yourself over and over again. It's good music, but by fucking once it wears us out really.
Particularly after you've played it for 60 fucking hours, I bet.
Hours, so, but yeah, I just like the mechanics of it a lot. But it's I think the story would be interesting, but I haven't got to it. Haven't finished it yet. So if we're going to get back to your number 8 game, we'll have a talk about that one, because that is
Da-na-na-na,
Yep.
na-na-na-na. It's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. After playing through the Vatican, I thought this might crack top 3. I did have some misgivings about a few elements later in the game. Like the last big area is a bit clunkier and felt a bit less refined and a bit less optimized. It didn't seem to run as well. But the going through the different dungeons and the different environments in that, like the exploration of the different open world areas was one of my favorite parts of playing this. It was really, really funny, just particularly when you get to the next 2 open world areas. It happened a bit in the Vatican, but more in the other 2. That I'd be like, all right, here's the main thing I've got to do. But fuck this, I'm going to go walk around as I do. Go the complete opposite way from what I told. And then I'd stumble across areas where I'm like, I can't do anything here. What the fuck? And then an hour or 2 later, it's like, hey, go here and do this. Okay. So it's just that narrative trigger for that area. For the most part, there wasn't a lot I had to look up. Once you realize that by the time you are nearly done in each individual area, you have everything you need to find pretty much everything you need. And to find, the only thing I didn't get in the discovery measure were the field notes.
Okay.
Like all the different documents and photos out in the real world. I got all the books. I got all the medicine bottles. The different radio frequencies. I got all that shit. I really liked just basically skulking around and going, hey, Nazi. And busting them one in the head, whether it be with a pot or with a guitar, pretending I'm a less lame version of Jeff Jarrett and just go, check it out, slap nuts. Brong! There's dogs, but you don't have to hurt the dogs, which is great.
I was actually going to say that in my bit. Yeah, so that's the one bit. I mean, there's a bit. Well, this is 9 on my list, so hence we're sort of talking at the same time here. But so yeah, like one of the big things I have in playing video games is having to hurt animals, and that's why I sort of really struggle with some of the Far Cry stuff. But this game, like, it's got dogs in it, but I think if you basically
you either crack the whip or bust a gunshot off in the air, they get scared.
They get scared and they literally don't come after you again, sort of thing. So it does a really neat way of dealing with that sort of aspect of it. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I'm only in the Vatican area, so I'm in the first sort of open world quote unquote area that's in this game. But some of the stuff you're doing is like, it's all first person. Although it's really odd when you get into a climbing section, it goes third person.
There's a little bit of it's not quite seamless, that transition.
Yeah, and the odd one too is when you want to walk off a ledge, you literally walk backwards and it kind of just grabs it. It's kind of weird.
And there's sometimes where you're trying to do that, but then try and drop and get the whip on it. It doesn't work. You just fall and die.
Yeah. So there's a couple of little mechanics things like that that are a little bit odd, but for the most part, the mechanics of playing the game are really, really enjoyable. The puzzle stuff is so far really, really good.
The hint system through the camera is actually really neat. I didn't notice it until I got really stuck, and I just took more and more photos of that same puzzle, and eventually it just goes, take this, do that. The frustration for me, which is why I asked you about your thoughts on Gina, and I'll be curious when you get there, is there were times, particularly when she's tagging along, you walk into a room and you're like, oh, there's a bunch of like notes to pick up, there's a bunch of shit to look at, and she's over at a fucking switch or over at the door going, hey, we got to get through this door. And she'll fucking say it like every 30 seconds or every minute. I'm like, lady, shut up so I can look at... I'm looking at this note. Let me look at this note.
A lot of games struggle with that, of having a sidekick who just fucking talks too much when you're trying to,
Or the protagonist.
But yeah, I've really enjoyed the bit of a played of it so far, so it will definitely be finishing on getting... I would definitely come back and finish it.
I will say, I'm not going to say what they were, but fuck me, even for in a film series that had its protagonist avoid a nuclear bomb by hiding in a fucking fridge, there are some things that happen in this game that I was like, wait, what? What the fuck? What happened? But the exploration and walking around was really like just exploring the world.
It's just really, really good fun. Yeah. And the stuff you're doing in it, and as I was sort of saying under writing earlier, and the audio stuff from the first episode, first pod, like it's just really really neat the stuff you're doing. They just set up the world, they get the environment and the world and everything they created basically spot on, really.
Plus, it's always fun to fuck up fascists and Nazis.
All right, I'm on to my 7th game, which is Horizon Forbidden West. This came out on PC this year.
What if I got something to say?
Is it on your list?
No.
Yeah, so I played this game originally on the PlayStation and just fell off it massively. I don't really know why. It came on PC and I played it and I thoroughly enjoyed every bit of this game. Again, it's like it follows on from the first game. So if you played the first game, it's basically the same. They've created some new machines in it. One of the ones is on the screen at the moment, a flying one. A couple of flying-based ones, even the ones you can actually get on and fly on them and ride on them, which is really fucking good way to get around that map. When you get that,
once you unlock that in the end game,
that makes it's a game changer, really. So it just makes it so much easier to get around. I pretty much did everything you can in that game, completed the DLC, which is really solid as well. So it's just a really solid game of that. The story stuff is pretty good. You've still got, am I going to use his name right? Silence, is that his name? Yes.
Yes.
He's still,
or at least close enough.
He's still been the antagonistic dick that he was in the first game, and like it's a great character as well. Aloy's a great character. A bunch of the side stuff, Erend and Val, are great characters as well. And the side stuff is really, it's just it's a really reductive thing to say, but it's a very good one of those, and I enjoyed every moment of it.
It's hard to say anything, because these Sony AAA action adventure, which they almost all are, action adventure open world games, even though they're framed differently, like Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon. I've played a little bit of Spider-Man at my mate's house, but people are very positive about that. God of War, the reboot. I haven't played Ragnarok yet. They all are framed rather somewhat differently, mostly aesthetically and all that sort of stuff, but they are still really engaging, really fun to play.
Exactly, yeah.
Are they industry-shattering, fucking massively original, best-playing things you're ever going to play? No,
but they do.
But
they do what they do incredibly bloody well, and they're incredibly well.
That's it. They do what they do incredibly well.
Yep. All right, your number 7 game is.
Hey man, what about the Call of Duty? One of the things that bums me out about the issues I'm having with the significant crashes I'm having with this thing right now is that I really enjoy playing this. A lot of reviews pointed out that they thought the map design was pretty piss poor and that it was less engaging and less interesting. I thoroughly disagree with that. There's literally only one map I'm not a big fan of, which is, I think, called Lowtown, which is largely a sort of river, or what's in Italy where you've got the fucking river through the middle of the city?
Yeah, like a rivulet kind of a thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sort of a couple of the significant areas are split, in that map are split by water, but the movement system they put in, plus, like I said, that adjusted time to kill makes the multiplayer incredibly fun for me. People bitch about it and go, well, number one, they're bitching about people using mouse and keyboard, which Call of Duty started on PC, people. Deal. But I haven't really run into the cheaters issue too much, which I seem to be quite lucky in. In Warzone, we tend, because we play Warzone Boot Camp, which is like a much more sectioned off and a bit more condensed version of Warzone, you run into bots fucking heaps.
Oh, really? Oh,
okay. You kill a character, and then you, truck along, and you'll kill someone with the exact same name 4 times as you're running to the circle. It's like, wait, what? But yeah, particularly playing this with a mate from work is one of the other things that made this really engaging. Like I said, I've got over 200 hours in it. Would I have played it as much? It's on Game Pass. I would have played a decent amount of it, and the multiplayer I'm finding really, really fun. Would I have played it as much without having talking and bullshitting with him over Discord while we're playing this? No. I'm astounded by how they managed to turn Call of Duty around. I haven't been a big fan or I've had no interest in Call of Duty since Advanced Warfare. But this, whew, hater.
All right, my number 6 game is Magic Archery.
Huh.
This game I'm assuming it's not on your list by that reaction.
No.
So this game, the way I found this game is I was just going through my various YouTube channels that I follow, and one of them just came up and said, I'm the clickbait titles they have on these videos. Just that's interesting. He's always interesting what he plays. Jumped in this, watched the first 5 or 6 minutes. I thought, all right, I'm going to stop playing this. I think almost a minute after I finished watching the video, I said, let's go this one on a checkout. We were going to do regular checkouts about 20-30 minutes long. We played the entire thing through and finished it and did like a 55 minutes.
Just shy of an hour.
Just shy of an hour for the whole thing. It's an idle game. It's really, really good. The visuals of it are really neat. The audio stuff's really neat with the little arrows hitting the targets. And the big thing is it's bloody free.
The numbers keep going up.
The numbers keep going up, and they get bloody big. They get bloody big.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah, it was just a completely it wasn't on a release list. We didn't talk about it in one of our games of next month kind of things. It was just something I stumbled across, and yeah, thoroughly enjoyed the little hour that we played of it on that stream. So, yeah, what is your number 6 game? Your number 6 game is?
It's a good call. I haven't switched mine yet. Ready? It's Black Myth Wukong. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Pretty much for me, the best Souls-like of 2024. I didn't play Erdtree, whatever. I think the things they did to slightly differentiate themselves to the Souls-like formula made it really engaging. There's almost a pace to the combat that made it really fun to actually get down and get in on it. And to an extent, it's not actually as hard as a lot of Souls-likes actually are. A lot of them grind you into the fucking dirt early. There were a few bosses I struggled with, and there was a few bosses that took me a bit of time to beat, but nowhere near as high a percentage as most of these types of games. The story is the adaptation of Journey to the West. I don't know that story particularly well. Apparently that's part of Dragon Ball. I made jokes while playing through this on video a couple times. Hey, where's Goku? And shit like that. But it is just a really good one of these. And a good one of these is a good one of these to play for me.
Right, my number 5 game is Sumerian 6. So this is the well, I was going to say it's the follow, but actually it wasn't. It's a game that's heavily inspired by the games from Mimi. So Desperados 3, Shadow
Tactics,
Shadow
Gambit,
and Shadow Tactics from earlier on. So it's the tactics game. You've got, in most missions, you've got 3 or 4 of the characters in the cover art. It follows, when I say it's inspired by, it follows those Mimi games.
It follows that formula hard.
So you've got the 3 characters. You've got the big bear guy in the background. He's basically the same as the big guy out of Desperados 3. He can go from that character to a regular person. You've got guys who use guns, guys who use knives. That character that's on the left, just there with the little sort of canister on her back, is basically a chemist person who can, when you want to get rid of a body, she literally dissolves it. So that's really useful to hide bodies. It's a really neat story. It's based back in the 40s and 50s. World War II sort of time frame.
Did you finish it?
I've not finished it yet. This is the only game that I've finished on this list so far is Horizon Forbidden West. There are other games that I have finished.
I think about that for a second. I'm like, wait, there's at least one more game I know you've...
on my list so far.
Dumbass.
So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this game, and I'll get back to it. It's one of the things I'll get back to and finish. It's just the thing that sets it apart from Shadow Gambit, from a mission design, is a lot of Shadow Gambit's missions were on the same map,
Yeah.
just a different path through it, or you're doing a different objective within it. So therefore, it got relatively repetitive in terms of what you were seeing moment to moment in each mission. Whereas this one is very distinct levels, and they are significantly longer than anything in Shadow
That's what I was
Gambit.
going to say. It wasn't a part of that because they had a smaller number of. I think it was like 8 main missions, and then it was on 8 different maps.
Yeah,
Wasn't
so
it?
this one I think is going to be smaller number of missions overall. It might only be 10 or 12 at most. Whereas Shadow Gambit had probably double or even triple
Fucking
that.
30 or some shit.
But a lot of them are relatively short and also on the same maps, repeating on the same maps. Whereas this is like just bigger maps that take longer to get through. It does do a really neat thing where it starts up where you've got, we've got to do this, and they draw sort of on the screen, but we've got to do this in arrows and stuff. We've got to get to this, and they do sort of circles on the map. So it's really neat how they set up each.
I like that sort of presentation style.
It's really, really neat. And the voice acting of all the various characters is really good, and there's not a lot of inter-character stuff that goes on. There's a little bit, but it's not a lot. The game's not really going to have that a lot in it anyway. So it's just a really good one of these games, and I really do hope that I think this game was successful. I'm not really sure. I hope it is, because I'd like to see another. I like this. I'd like someone to be making games like this. Because
the sort of stealth tactics, real-time tactics sort of thing.
Because sadly, the Mimby Studios has closed down. They did after Shadow Gambit came out. But yeah, Sumerian 6 picked up that banner, but hopefully they will keep going with it.
Well, they got back to our Devolver, and Devolver is pretty good about like not necessarily just dumping teams if it's and not having fucking stupid, ambitious hopes for the sales and stuff like that. So they're pretty good about those sort of things.
Yeah, as I said, I think they're set up for doing another game, but yeah, whether they was a different thing. Your number 5 game is
Nine Souls. I've talked a bunch about it already. Really neat, really cool. That search action Metroidvania style, while also embedding that Souls-like, much more Sekiro-focused combat because of the very parry-heavy nature of that combat. Because Sekiro of the From games is the one that's parry-heavy.
Mm-hmm.
There are times where hitting that was a little bit hard, obviously because it's a relatively tight window.
Mm-hmm.
It is difficult in the ways that you think those games are going to be difficult. It is difficult in a way that fucked me off a couple of times. I'd be lying if I didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
But the number one, it's from a developer in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
They put out a horror game that was on Steam briefly, and then it got pulled, I think, because of China shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then they put this out. I love the art style, that mix between the sort of Chinese traditionalism and the technological elements they're bringing together and marrying that really well. I thought that it played really, really tightly. The traversal across the environments, the combat worked really well. It was the best Metroidvania I played this year off the top of my head, unless I've got another one higher up. Yeah.
Alrighty. Number 4 for me is Cat Quest 3.
Meow.
So I have not played the original Cat Quest 1 and 2. I'd played bits of them, but not to completion. But Cat Quest 3 came out the middle of the year, I think, from memory. Can't remember when it came out exactly. And yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, they are.
The character design's great. The story's really good. The dialogue between the two main characters, being the cat, obviously at the front there, and this little sort of ghosty floating dude back there.
Sort of staffy.
Sort of a little dude. It's really, like, the combat's really good. You've got a bunch of options around how you can defeat the enemies. You've got area-based effect weapons, combat weapons, range weapons. You've got everything. You've got a boat that you can get onto and just toot around the area and get things up as well, because there's boats that always are trying to kill you. The story's really, really neat. There's just a lot of good things in this game, and as we mentioned in best story writing, the cat puns are just superb.
It's not just cat puns, but fucking rat and dog puns too.
Yeah, true. It's just really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's relatively short at probably, 15 hours-ish, I guess.
Yeah.
About that. They did put out some DLC just before the end of the year. I jumped into that a little bit, but it didn't really grab in the same way the main game did, so I fell off it relatively quickly.
I played it on stream.
So I'm not too sure they're going to... I think they're doing more. I think.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think there's one more coming. I think I've read that, maybe.
Yes, there is, because the story very much ends with a massive wink and nod to there is another one coming.
Yeah, so with his DLC...
Or at least they're setting up for the... which seems like the final chapter.
Yeah, I would think so, yeah. So yeah, that's where... that's the one, number 4 game, Cat Quest 3. Back to you.
Similar to Cat Quest 3 with the overworld exploration in a seafaring craft, but the minute-to-minute gameplay, the XCOM style. SteamWorld Heist 2, we've talked a bunch about it. I really enjoy playing. I really enjoy the exploration of the overworld. I really enjoy the moment-to-moment XCOM light that it does. The overworld combat has a little element of Vampire Survivors to it, in that you're moving around and it shoots automatically.
Not bullet hell like that is, but yeah, you can see where it comes from.
No. But it is... We've said plenty about it. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
There's not much more really that needs to be said about it.
Music's great.
I dug the fuck out of it.
Visuals of it are fantastic. The gameplay is really neat. The story's pretty good. It's really, really fucking good.
When you think about, like, from the concept of a game as perfection, like, there's a couple of different ways to look at it, but one really easy one is to look at it as, what did the studio seemingly set out to do, and to what extent did they achieve it? Like, did I get frustrated a couple of times because I had crew members die? Yeah. Did I continually save scum? Yeah. But that's because I wanted to get the full stars and all that sort of stuff. And it gives you the tools and allows you to do that. Like, it comes damn close to hitting that perfection level, because with what they're setting out to do and what they achieved, that's pretty close to that concept of quote-unquote perfection.
No, for sure.
You're not going to get a perfect game just like you never get a perfect movie. Well, no, that's not true. The Fast and Furious movies exist. But, that's right, I said it. This game's fucking fantastic. We've talked a bunch about it.
Yep. All right. My number 3 game is Astro Bot.
It's on my list.
It's on your list? All right. So you want to skip to your number 3 game?
Sure. It was...
Yeah, right. Number 3 for Steve.
Minishoot, talked about it a bunch.
Yep.
Probably among the shorter of the games on here. I got it done in a couple of days.
Okay.
Because it was about 12-ish.
Yep.
But there is a function of difficulty because of the quote-unquote bullet hellness of it. But it's manageable.
Yep.
And the exploration, it's weird to say this about a game that has very obvious bullet hell. It's just so pleasant. It plays really, really well. It has this really neat art style. The music is, I don't know, off the top of my head, it was fine. But like, this isn't the sort of game I'm coming to for music.
Yeah.
And it does this really successful dual joystick shooter, bullet hell, Zelda / Metroid-ish a little bit, because pathways blocked by abilities and all that sort of stuff. It does all of that really, really well. And then at the end of the game, you like a couple of games this year, it did a sort of combat arena series of challenges, which were fun to fucking do. And I did them. Like, this game's fucking fantastic. And it's like, it's cheap. Like $20 to $30. Absolutely worth it.
Excellent. All right. My number 2 game is the Plucky Squire. Now that means you probably know what number 1 game is.
Yep. I don't think there's a motherfucker who's listened to this thing for the last 8 years that doesn't know what the fucking number 1 game is.
It's either going to be that game or this game, and end up being all right.
I called that fucking. Moving on.
So we've talked a lot about the Plucky Squire the last couple of episodes because of it's been on a bunch of lists. So we're not going to add on much to it more here, but yeah, it is it is just a really, really great game. I mean, it's we talked about that. You were having that sort of discussion about perfection with SteamWorld Heist 2. This is kind of, I think, this is in that same sort of boat. They set out to make a game that seamlessly changes between 2D and 3D, and the story is really good, and they basically nailed that, as far as I'm concerned, with this one. So, yeah, it is a fantastic little game. Your number 2 is
Tactical Breach Wizards. I talked a bunch about how good I think this game is. So there's really not much more to be said. I feel like even of the XCOM style games that have come out over the last few years, this is, if not among the best one of those. Because it has that little puzzle nature of the challenges on top of it, which help you unlock more and more abilities. The writing and the interactions between the characters is fucking fantastic. The challenge levels and the different elements they get you to do outside of the campaign. Do we have this in best campaign?
I think we did. Give me 2 minutes. Keep talking.
Fuck! I don't think I put it in. Once I've already established anyway, the number one probably won't be too much of a surprise when we get to it either. But this was one of my favorite games of the year, and it's probably one of my favorite games in the last 5 years. Which these sorts of games, outside of like a real proper XCOM, there's maybe one every couple of years that really hooks me. This one hooked me hard. And really stuck the landing.
Yep. All right.
I'm bummed that I don't think it was in best campaign.
No, it wasn't. I just checked.
I fucking forgot. God damn it. Hey, shock of all shocks.
Yep, not a surprise for me. Number one game. It finally came out in 1.0 this year. Last year. Satisfactory. Yep. There's probably not much to add to this. I've played it.
I was going to say, outside of the 1,700 hours you've played and the many solo factories and
now it's 1,800.
Why didn't it come up in other categories?
It's
or
not
did it just not really fit, you think?
It's not really going to fit anything like it. It really is a game that is so, just for me,
singular. That factory style of game, while it has become really quite popular, it doesn't neatly fit into Game of the Year categories like this.
You could. There is a story to this game, as we sort of did in a couple of checkouts we did of it. I wouldn't put in a campaign or writing category for that reason. You could maybe put it in a hand-filled one, but then it's so specific to what it does, you couldn't really compare it to anything else. They are bringing that to console, which is going to be very interesting to see what that's like. But 1,850 hours of 1,850 hours of putting into so far. I've put into it just since it came out in 1.0, because that's basically when I changed over to Steam, for it to give a sense of what I've just done alone on that. On Steam, it is 205 hours just on Steam. So I did about 1,600 hours or so on Epic. On Epic.
That tracks.
But the funny thing is, because of the way I've played it, because I played it from when it's in early access, from about 2020 onwards, I jumped into that. Became a massive game during the pandemic for me, because I was playing an absolute bucket load of it. I've not got a single Steam achievement in that game. Because all the stuff
Are they all tied to the quote-unquote campaign?
They are they're tied to things you do in the game, but because I did most of it under Epic, none of those achievements unlocked in when I brought it across when I opened up the same on the stage.
Oh, motherfucker!
On Steam. So I have a bit of I actually talked about in the most recent Solo Factory episode, is that I'm going to probably finish up the current playthrough by episode 40. Then I'm going to start again and actually start from scratch.
Of course you fucking know.
Because why not?
And then he's going to get all the achievements.
And then he's going to try and get as many achievements as I can, and just because I now can play that game from the beginning without it being.
I'd be curious what you think about the way they structure it from a campaign perspective.
That's what I'm really curious about, because it was I played it over literally a 4-year period, and the story was not part of the focus of playing it in early access, and they now put it into the 1.0, so. With a bit more emphasis on the story. Not that the story's a lot to write home about, but it is there. I'm fascinated to see how that's delivered, how it's dealt out,
Yeah.
whatever term you want to use. So yeah, I'm really interested to see, what that is like. So yeah, probably this time next year we're still on my list. I've no idea. All right, Youâ one game is not a surprise because it was my number 3. I think I had it on. I think wasn't it? What did I have? I had Astro Bot number 3 on my list. So it's number 1.
So this wasn't going to be on my list at all because I hadn't finished it.
Okay.
We had it on best game. We didn't get time to finish. The part of it for me is because number 1, I have so much more time than you, and number 2, I just end up playing so many more games than you, just through different rhyme, reason, all that sort of stuff. But not having my PC because it was getting worked on and all that sort of stuff, I played more of it, and then not necessarily intending to finish it after we finished recording part 1, but ending up finishing it. Like I said, I started playing it for again around 10 on Saturday night and went through till about 2 to finish everything and platinum it. It's just so nice, pleasant. It plays super fucking well. It looks fantastic. It runs really consistently. It runs really, really well. From a technical perspective, it's really solid. I can't find too many faults with it. It, for the most part, uses the motion controls really quite well. There's only one real section that I didn't like the motion controls on. It was one of the speedrunning levels. Otherwise, I kept the motion controls on the whole game because it was a core part of it. And the more I played through it, the more I was thinking, even if they can do this on PC, I don't know how much of it is a great idea because more than you think, so much of this is rooted in PlayStation and PlayStation nostalgia.
Oh, absolutely it is. Like, you literally you're rescuing bots that are reflecting of the characters in their various. In the last level I just did, I just rescued basically Kratos and the kids. I can't remember his name as little bots. So they're leading into that nostalgia.
Which some people may have on PC, but
I think the characters from the Sony world are going to be known even if you only play on PC because they are well-known characters. And
that was another neat little game to play as I was going through because they never actually fucking name any of the bots. They just describe them.
Yeah.
Some of it was, which fucking game is this motherfucker from?
Who's he from? Yeah, exactly. They could bring it across to Steam without a problem.
You could do it. There's no harm. There wouldn't be a harm in doing it. It'd probably do really quite well. I don't think it would land with the same emphasis as it landed on PlayStation.
You're probably right because the console is going to be where it is, but you'd think.
Oh, it would do really quite well because it's fucking fantastic play.
Fantastic game to play. So, and you can obviously plug in your Steam controller, your PlayStation controller and play DualSense with it anyway, so you can miss that.
I've played a number of PC, quote unquote PC games with that PlayStation controller that Sony have put out, and they all have the DualSense functionality. But yeah, I mean, what more can you say about a game that fucking on Open Critic is, I think, 95?
Yeah.
Swept a lot of Game of the Year awards, did incredibly well at the Keeleys.
Yep. So
it's fucking fantastic.
It won 3 of our categories, 4 if you include yours. So yeah, and which is actually
arguably really why I think it's deserved.
Yeah, I agree. It is a brilliant game. Alrighty, so that means we've done our individual top 10s. So now we're going to flick back to an overall top 10. So what we've
Are you driving this one?
I'll drive this one. Yep. So what we've done with this is we have imported effectively the 10 games from your list and the 10 games from my list, and we've got 18 in total. So the only ones that we replicated were Indiana Jones was on both of our lists, as was Astro Bot.
Yep.
Hence why we don't have 20.
Yep.
But of the 18 games we have, Satisfactory. By the way, this will be a top 10 ordered list.
Yep.
Satisfactory, I Am Future, Pacific Drive, Horizon Forbidden West, Banishers Ghost of New Eden, Minishoot Adventures, SteamWorld Heist II, 9 Souls, Cat Quest 3, Sumerian 6, Star Wars Outlaws, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, The Plucky Squire, Black Myth Wukong, Tactical Breach Wizards, Magic Archery, Astro Bot, and rounding out our 18 nominees is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I'm going to remove a bunch of things from my list. I'm going to remove I Am Future, I'm going to remove. Where would it go? Where was it? Where'd it go? Sumerian 6. I'm going to remove Horizon Forbidden West. I'm going to remove Star Wars, which gives us now 14. Who else can go quickly?
Call of Duty can go.
Call of Duty can go. Let me go back and find him. Where was he? There he is. Oh, there. I think probably Cat Quest 3 can probably go. Magic Archery can go.
Leave it for now.
Magic Archery can go.
Yep.
I got 12. So I think if it's a reflective of collectively Satisfactory has to be there. Astro Bot has to be there.
Yep.
I think SteamWorld Heist has to be there. So I'm going to move it up. Not down. I'm going to move it up into the 3 just so we've got it sort of out the way, so to speak.
I think that's fair.
We probably want to put Indiana Jones up as well because for the same reason it was on our list.
I wouldn't put it massively high, too much higher, but yes, it needs to be up a bit.
I'll just put it into 4 for the time being, so that's the ones that are staying on. That means we've still got
Take off Black Myth.
Take off Black Myth, okay.
Because it's very much not a you game. So I think for a top 10 reflective of the Should I Play This Game podcast / whatever, I don't think it being there is probably going to work.
Banishers were up there because it's even though I haven't played it, I think it's worth it being there. We've got 11, so Cat Quest 3.
Take off 9 souls.
Take off 9 souls. Okay, so that means we have our 10.
Yep.
So that's a good start. I think we'll probably leave Cat Quest where it is at 10 at this stage.
Roughly, yep.
We'll leave it there. Where would you
move Plucky Squire up?
I think Plucky Squire's got to go up.
Yep.
I'll put it up to 5. I'll leave it at 6 for the time being. Actually, I'll just go through the 10 we've got, and we can go from there. So we've got number 1 Satisfactory, 2 Astro Bot, 3 SteamWorld Heist 2, 4 Indiana Jones: The Great Circle. Banishers
before we go into... Oh, okay, you want to run through the 10 first? I was going to say move Indiana Jones down.
Yep. Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, The Plucky Squire, Tactical Breach Wizards, Minishoot Adventures, Pacific Drive, and Cat Quest 3 is 10. So I think I agree with you moving... Where was it? There he is. Moves him down probably there. I think...
I did go it again.
Go once more? Alright.
Yep, because your enthusiasm for Plucky Squire puts it above Indy.
Yep, I think that has to be there.
Alright, I'll address that later.
What have we got?
I think Banishers is maybe too high.
Too high, you think? Okay.
Yep, because I think Tactical Breach Wizards should be higher.
You think that should be higher? Let me bring that up above Indy then. So maybe I'll swap those two. So now we've got, just go back to 10, we've got Cat Quest 10, it'll stay there. I think Pacific Drive at 9, I think that's a good spot for it.
Yep.
We've got Minishoot Adventures at 8, I think that's probably reasonable.
I would swap that with Indy.
Swap that with Indy, okay, I think that's fine. Then we've got Pacific Drive at 9, Indiana Jones Red Circle at 8, Minishoot Adventures at 7, I think those they're probably locked in. We then have Banishers at...
No, swap it. Swap Banishers and Minishoot.
Swap Banishers and Minishoot. Cool, done.
Yep.
So now we've got Banishers at 7, Minishoot Adventures at 6, Tactical Breach Wizards at 5, Plucky Squire at 4, SteamWorld Heist 2 at 3. I've put Astro Bot above because it was high on both of our respective lists. Astro Bot number 1 and I've put Satisfactory number 2.
I'll address that in a sec. Go back down to the 4-5 range for me for a sec, please.
So we've got Plucky Squire 4, Tactical Breach Wizards at 5.
There's a part of me that wants to say flip Tactical Breach Wizards and Plucky Squire, but I don't think that's fully fair.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it, like, if we just bear with me one moment on another screen here. So Tactical Breach Wizard was not in a lot of categories, but it's obviously was high on your end.
That's the problem. It's not a game that fits well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think from
Part of that's because I'm a dumbass, but also part of that is I know you're way more enthusiastic about Plucky Squire,
yeah, I think
so I'm fine with it staying there.
Yeah, I mean, once we get into the sort of the middle of the tens, you're probably throwing a blanket over it
Yeah.
anyway over what's in there. So therefore we've got Tactical Beach Wizards at 5, Plucky Squire at 4. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with SteamWorld. I mean, what do you think about SteamWorld Heist 2?
SteamWorld is fine there.
What do you think it should? You obviously think that should be that.
I think if we look at
What do you
no, I think if you look at this podcast, our YouTube channel, our cumulative combined, whatever you want to call it, media empire.
Yes.
I don't think you can talk about a game that is as significant to our empire as Satisfactory.
No. From that perspective, from the pure amount of content that me effectively has done with this game, So just to give everybody a bit of a perspective on it, let me just go find it in the list.
While you're looking that up, as soon as that game got a 1.0 launch in 2024, I was not necessarily resigned because that has more of a negative connotation over it. I was well and truly satisfied with it being a number one, because the sheer impact and the sheer amount of content and how much and how enthusiastic you have been and are still for that game, I don't think there was anything that was going to overcome it this year.
Yeah,
and I think to say otherwise, Astro Bot is fucking fantastic. I'm not going to talk shit about Astro Bot, but I don't think.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're fucking apples and oranges, and that's what you're comparing at this point. But I think from a cumulative, should I play this game of the year 2024, when Satisfactory was 1.0'd in 2024, I don't think there are too many reasonable or rational arguments for not having that fucking game at number one.
I mean, I'm agreeing with that, but I don't want to force a game like that onto this list, but I do 100% obviously agree with what you're saying.
There's no forcing, because you talk about it damn near every fucking episode.
So yeah, to give an idea of that, I mentioned that in 19 episodes out of 24. So we were only 5 or 6 times I didn't mention it, and probably playing it, just forgot to put it on the list, probably.
Or you were away and couldn't play it.
I was away and I was at work and couldn't play it. I've done 37 videos on it, 35 followers, seller factories, and 2 checkouts. They do surprisingly, compared to everything else that we put out in terms of view count, they do really, really big numbers, and I don't fucking know why. It's really confusing to me.
Fucking stick the knife in, why don't you? Now I knocked my hangouts in my Friday night phone.
It's really, it's just really, really odd. I can't explain it, why people watch the content, because
you don't need to explain it. I think when it's I come at it from when I do streams and stuff, when I do videos, 8 times out of 10 it would be, oh, this is something that's relatively new, I think might be dope, let's have a look at it. That could work. Or, hey, I'm playing this shit anyway. That's what most of the holiday hangouts were. I'm playing this anyway in the lead up for Game of the Year. Fucking let's just throw it up and see what we can do building content. I just fucking died a little bit inside having said the word building content. But I haven't had, Call of Duty has come up on a lot of videos. Because it's really easy just to throw it on and play half an hour or whatever when I can't be fucked or don't want to play anything else. But I've had a game that I've stuck with that long. Apex came a bit close. Street Fighter 4, half of the time, maybe, if that.
Yep.
But not enough for me to build that much of a video series around.
Yeah.
Even when I was doing Friday Night Fight Night, and it was literally playing sometimes different fighting games.
Yeah, so it wasn't one game overall, wasn't it? Yeah.
No.
And obviously those games, the thing about Satisfactory is that it kind of has no endpoint. It does have an endpoint in terms of what they ask you to do in the game, but you can just keep playing after that and do what the hell you want. There's nothing really that, it's your own imagination that makes you want to stop if that's what you want to do. So, All right.
I think it'd be really funny to compare my Steam, that Steam overview for the year?
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah, comparing mine to yours, because mine had like 360 games on it.
Yeah,
I bet yours had maybe 50.
I think maybe I was 47 or something. I think when I remember playing it. Yeah.
There you go. Old far off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, when that thing got at 1.0, I'm like, there you go. There's your game of the year. For us.
Definitely was one of yours.
And I remember mentioning to you a couple of times, you were like, you hummed and hearted a bit. I'm like,
well, this game was the one that I was thinking might break it, might actually get past it, the Plucky Squire, because of it being, for my personal list. I'm not talking about the overall thing.
No, I'm not saying overall. I think even just how effusive and how enthusiastic you have been for years about Satisfactory.
Oh yeah,
that to me was still going to take over from.
Probably was going to. It was an unlikely one, but it was the only one that was probably going to get there.
Yeah,
but it didn't. So
I'm surprised I Am Future wasn't as high, but
I mean, I guess because of
you said the same thing for me about Banishers.
Yeah. All right, we're going to lock in our overall top 10 list for the site. So we have got number 10, Cat Quest 3, number 9, Pacific Drive, 8, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, number 7, Banishers Ghost of New Eden, 6, Minishoot Adventures, 5, Tactical Beach Wizards, 4 is the Plucky Squire, 3 is SteamWorld Heist 2, number 2 is Astro Bot, and the game of the year for the Should I Play This Game podcast is Satisfactory. And we'll flick over to that screen. So that wraps us up. So thanks for sticking with us for the last, what have we been gone? Probably 4.5 hours, I guess, over the 2 episodes we've done. Give or take. Yeah, how do you want to wrap this up?
Back at it. I don't want to say back to the grind, because that makes it sound way more work-like than I'm intending it to. But yeah, back to regular podcast, talk about what we're playing. For me, I'm shocking. I don't know why. I just go, all right, 2025, let's go. Anything that came out in 2024 that I'm not actively playing, like it'll probably be Helldivers and Call of Duty. I play pretty frequently throughout 2025, but like stuff like Dragon Age and Outlaws, it might just end up getting kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
But fuck me, 2025.
Yeah, we'll get to it in the first episode of the year. We'll do some sort of 2025 in preview segment, I'm sure. Look at what's coming out. What's coming out in? Well, I'm just going January, but January's behind us already.
February's fucking stacked.
February will do.
April's getting big as well now.
And we're obviously going to have at some point this year. I think we'll have a Switch 2. Will come out, I suspect.
Yes.
Not that I'll be buying it, but yeah, it's obviously something. It's a big release nonetheless.
Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, maybe. As in maybe come out, not maybe buy it, but maybe come out. Yeah. So next week we'll be back to regular scheduled podcast. Following week after that, we'll get back into maybe more limo, maybe a checkout. We'll see where we go. There probably is a checkout worth doing from something else, but we'll do that as we come to it. But yes, thank you very much for listening to the last 4.5 hours or so of our 2 episodes for the Game of the Year 2024 for the Should I Play This Game podcast. Thank you, Steve, for putting up all the technical stuff, and we will see you all in a week. Thank you, everybody. Good.
Peace out, y'all.